do 40.
Okay, it works. Yeah.
Oh,
It works too well.
40.
Yeah.
40.
Was I just
Sick.
completely off, or
No, you sounded.
Okay.
Everybody sounded like they were on to me.
Yeah.
We're just delayed.
It's yeah,
Oh,
it's
for
just the
I just
latency
thought
and
it,
whatnot.
just for me, it sounded like I did it like a second before, but
It did for
we'll
me
figure
too. You're fine.
Latency.
I think it's just my clock says it's 1.1 seconds behind, so that's why.
Plus or minus 0.006 seconds.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure the tracks will line up fine though.
Mhm.
Right. Is this accurate? Probably is. Alex is always on top of stuff.
Which one?
Just the episode number and all that. Okay, we're good. No one submitted a question, but I forgot until it was kind of late to put it out there, so whatever. At least I didn't see anyone submit a question.
Excuse me.
Hello and welcome to episode 183 of the Gaming Fix podcast on July 31st, 2021. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liner. I'm joined today by Pat.
I don't know. Probably something about that. His farm animals. He has really
horses,
delightful. He has like a mini
Shetland
horse
ponies and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm. I think he has like goats or something.
Okay.
Like honestly, aged like a fine wine, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He just seems like he went from being like troubled action movie star to kind of huge asshole to politician whose views I didn't agree with to pretty pleasant dude that just has a bunch of animals out in the on a farmland on a farm now.
Sure. Alex.
There's the seminal chill out dickwad from Terminator 2.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I just watched Terminator 2 2 hours ago.
It's one of the best movies of all time.
An hour and a half. I watched
I like the
it
first
tonight.
Terminator better.
It's a better horror movie, but Terminator 2 is one of the best movies of all time.
I don't know if I can follow
That's
you down that
both
road.
both valid opinions.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie.
And Allison.
So you go for good movies. I go for Batman and Robin and all of his Mr. Freeze one-liners. Plug. I was a guest on a podcast called Bat Minute where we talked about minute by minute Batman and Robin.
Sure.
Yeah, so I was there for a few episodes, but I watched that movie for the first time because of it. I kind of low-key.
That movie is great.
Yeah, it is.
I love
like
that movie.
It is just like all campy and cheesy, and I'm just like I'm here for it. And part of that is Arnold Schwarzenegger just being like hamming it up and like making the worst ice puns.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, exactly.
There are Terminator movies that are worse than Batman and Robin.
Probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm a fan of Kindergarten Cop when he's like, "Oh, I've got a headache," and the kid's like, "Is it a tumor?"
Yeah, it's not the tumor.
No, it's not the tumor.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow.
That one's good.
I don't think I remember that.
It's very good. Kindergarten
That
Cop.
movie has not,
good movie.
It's a good movie. It has not aged well in all the right places, but
sure,
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's
You know what movie is great and always has
time.
been, and everybody slept on it? The Last Action Hero.
Oh, yeah, The Last Action Hero was good. I like Jingle All the Way a lot. Actually, Jingle All the Way might be my favorite Schwarzenegger movie.
Jingle All the Way is very good.
It might be my favorite Christmas movie too.
Definitely up there. It's
As
Big Show is in there. I forgot. And just that whole scene and like the factory or whatever with all the
Did
Santas.
you know I'm jumping on this one moment because we're not going to talk about wrestling again, maybe ever. Did you know that AEW is getting a second TV show already?
Wait, what? Oh,
called Rampage, and
okay.
And they sold 13,000 tickets to its second taping already.
Well, please don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, yes, whatever. And everybody thinks CM Punk is going to come back and come to AEW because they're doing it at his stadium
in Chicago. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he hates WWE so much, and the WWE's financials are fucked right now, and AEW is like doing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, but Allison,
interesting.
You had a thought. What was it? I was curious.
Just with Jingle All the Way. I feel like as somebody from Minnesota, I have like an awareness of everything that takes place, like movie pop culture that takes place there, and that took place in Minneapolis. So
it's a very flattering, deservedly so. This isn't like, I don't think it's a misrepresentation, but it's a very flattering look at Minneapolis too. It's very pretty. The city is very pretty in that movie. There's some nice, good scenes of him like driving in the dark with the skyline behind him when he's on the phone at one point, and it's really nice.
Wait, he was driving and on the phone. What year was this movie?
It's like a car phone or something. He's like he's talking to his butt because he's rich, you know, like he's like,
he's a successful small businessman.
Yeah,
runs like
he's
a car
like driving across a bridge, and I remember the scene is seared into my mind because I remember really liking the way the city looked in it.
Yeah, it's
a good movie. Go watch Jingle All the Way, folks.
It's right now. Yeah, Christmas in July. If it's not July anymore, you got to wait till December, but that's okay.
True. That's the law.
You don't have to do that. You can watch Jingle All the Way anytime. Another thing you can do anytime is play some video games. You can play them in the morning. You can play them in the afternoon. You can play them in the evening. You can play them at night. Play them in the tub.
Can't play them while you're, you know.
You can play them in a box. You can play them with a fox.
You know.
You can play them on a train. You could play them in the rain, though. Make sure you've got like an umbrella or something like to, you know, keep the water out of your console.
My phone is waterproof to a certain degree. Like it's rated.
Yeah, mine is too, to an extent. So
you can play them on a plane.
This checks out. I have played video games on a plane.
I do.
No, I said a train.
Oh,
I have
planes, trains, and automobiles are places you can play video games.
I have played them in all those places.
Fun story. I've played a Vita on both a train and a plane.
Yeah, I played a DS on a train once. I don't think I played a Vita on a train. Did I play it? Maybe. I don't remember.
When I went to Canada, that's when I was deep into Persona 3. So I
played Professor Layton on a train in France because that seemed appropriate.
Does seem very appropriate, like similar vibes.
Sure, these are all places you can play video games, times you can do it. And now is the time to talk about all the times and places you've played video games this week.
All of them? That's how much time you got?
My apartment.
I only have like 3 hours.
Do you want an itemized list?
Oh, I played it at my parents' house.
I'm gonna have to deduct all these from your taxes later. Well, we got one that a lot of us are playing. I think all of us are still playing. Pokemon Unite. We talked a bit about it last week, but it's
did not
still going
expect
strong.
how into it I would get.
Oh, it rips.
Last week I'd only played like some of the tutorial stuff, and I was like, oh, this is good for a MOBA. I'm understanding it. I don't know how much I'll actually put into it. And then now I'm like playing it every day, and I'm like, gotta get my dailies. And it's I did not expect to be there.
Didn't you get the battle pass?
I sure did.
I got it too.
Listen, you can't tell me, hey, you can get the hip hop costume for Pikachu if you just give us a little money not expect me to do it.
It's like $4. That's why I bought the premium pass that came with levels, because that was only because if you buy the $8 level of coins, you get enough coins or crystals, whatever the fuck, to buy the premium pass. So $8. I was like, whatever.
Does Does
just
buying
think
the battle
premium
pass
pass
make
is
it
great.
level up any faster, or is
No,
it just
it's just
Okay,
you just get a bundle of levels off the bat for less than if you had bought them individually. I usually do that with battle passes as long as it's not like that expensive, because like it's
the last item in the battle pass is the
Captain's
still
Sin
good.
Race.
it's the
Exactly.
the Cinderace, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I want that too.
Or as someone tried to get them to think it was on a Waypoint stream. There's a Waypoint stream where Austin and Kato and Ben Pack actually played some Pokemon Unite that was very good. I think the VOD's still available on their Twitch. But someone in the comments tried to convince them that it was pronounced Cinderace.
Hell yeah.
They were like, it is not Cinderace.
No, it's
Should be.
Cinderace.
Cinderace. They say the name Cinderace out loud sometimes. But that Captain Cinderace skin is really good.
It's really good, is the thing.
Yeah, there
I want
are some
that.
pretty good skins in there.
There are.
They're not as elaborate as a lot of like League and Smite skins, but
No.
that's fine because they're very good. Like I will die for that Talonflame skin with the pilot glasses or
Oh
goggles.
my god, I want that real bad.
They're
very
better than Apex Legends skins at launch.
Yes.
Oh yeah, those were
So, like,
just
yeah,
palette swaps.
Exactly, yeah. These are like,
have been
you
getting
got
into-
Pikachu in like a hip hop outfit, or like you've got
It's very good.
Snorlax in like a Hawaiian shirt, I think.
I
and, like,
love how many of them are
floaty
just
and-
like Hawaiian shirts and vacation gear. Like,
Yes.
there's something about that is very charming to me. That is just like, you know, kind
Venus-
of, we're having fun.
Yeah, Venusaur and scuba gear, or not scuba gear, snorkeling gear is like,
Yeah.
that was like, yes, please. That's
yeah.
good.
And
lately
they've
I've been
already
into-
like started adding new Pokemon too, which
Did
I
they?
was surprised
I missed
by.
that.
Yeah,
I didn't have
they
a chance to play it in
added
a couple days, so.
routes.
Gardevoir?
it's-
I'm really
Yes,
into playing
yes.
Gardevoir. I got that right away and then got the skin because it looks like it's wearing like a little like kind of bonnet, like it was like a Victorian era type thing. And I was like, oh, that's cute. But
Pride and
that's a
Prejudice
fun
and
character. Yeah,
Gardevoir.
exactly. But it's a very fun character to play. So
Is it a support class or?
it's attack class.
Okay.
It's
So-
ranged attack, so it's using psychic abilities. But one of the early specials is teleport, so you can, which I think is really fun for early game, where you can kind of
Yeah,
get
lots of
places
movement.
faster.
They've done such a good job. Like League of Legends is a game where a lot of people that I know play like 4 characters. And yes, they spend money on skins, but and it's fine because League has like whatever 70 million players, but they don't really buy characters very frequently because you can spend so long learning single characters. But since Pokemon has this nice mix of like, it's satisfying to learn to play additional characters and it's relatively quick. And because there are so many Pokemon that they can add, what they've done is they don't charge that much for each one. It's pretty easy to grind out the coins.
No, I think I I didn't buy the like super pass that you did, so I think I had just enough extra. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
I can buy Gardevoir.
And
Why not?
They do the thing that is terrible that I like it because it's absolutely like predatory in some ways, but they do the Genshin Impact did this too, where you get double your paid currency the first time you buy a tier of paid currency. So and it makes it like very easy to convince yourself to purchase a little bit of extra paid currency. Like I would never buy the like $2 amount, but when it's like, oh, actually it's $4, which is enough to buy a Pokemon, then I'm more likely to do that. So I have a feeling that I'm going to end up with most of them at some point. I'm just kind of waiting until I get through all of the event stuff, so I unlock all the free ones first. And then
because
I'll
I
probably pick a few more
just
up.
finished unlocking there's the like first 7, and then you got what's his name,
And-
the dude with the rock on his back.
Yeah, I haven't quite finished that yet.
I
Because,
just finished that one.
I had spa last weekend and then a race yesterday, so I didn't end up having time to play the last a couple of the days out of the week. But the problem with that game is originally I was into it because I was like, oh, this is great because I can sit down and play it for 10 minutes here and there, and instead of something like Dota where I need to dedicate like an hour to it. Not that most Dota games don't take that long, but between like,
yeah, but you never know.
Logging in
At any moment, you could be in an hour-long Dota game.
Need to have that time just in case. Even though that's kind of a deeper experience, I was like, okay, but I can pop in for 10 minutes with Pokemon. The problem is that I don't do that because I play 10 games in a row whenever I open the app.
Well,
and so I sit for like almost 2 hours instead.
It's kind of weird because in some ways I think I prefer the phone version purely because of that. Like if I'm getting my Switch out, it's because I'm going to sit down for a longer session, not like I'm going to do 10 minutes and put it back away. Like if I'm getting the Switch out, I'm already in the mentality that like, okay, I'm probably going to be doing a full session. Whereas when it's with your phone, you can be like, I have it with me, 10 minutes. Okay, great. And then just put it away and then, come back to it.
Mine's kind of different because I think maybe it's because I play the Switch more of anybody here. But for me, I just have it with me all the time. So I'm just kind of like, I'm so used to being able to like pull it out for like a few minutes and then put it back.
I'm excited for the phone version, especially because I've had pretty good luck playing Wild Rift on 5G. And I'm assuming Unite will have controller support because it works on Switch. So I would be surprised if it didn't have controller support.
It's not currently tying. It's like this is tied to your Switch account right now, though, isn't it? It's not tied to a Pokemon Unite account. So like any purchases, like battle passes, etc., you'd have to do again on phone.
I don't think so. I think you'll probably tie to your Nintendo account from the phone.
From the app. Yeah, that wasn't there when I tried it, but that was also like in March.
But we'll see.
This was there.
Before the actual release.
It's totally possible that there won't be that kind of cross account stuff, in which case I just won't play it on phone. But I would think that they would do that because Nintendo is a little less bad about that stuff than Sony. So in the few cases where there have been phone to game to like console crossovers, they've been but it's also been instances more where because there's Pokemon Go crossover stuff that works pretty well. Is
there Pokemon Go on Switch?
No, but like you can pull Pokemon Go, Pokemon
you can pull them
into.
I did that for a couple. I think for stuff for Let's Go and Sword and Shield, so that I could, for Pokedex stuff.
Yeah.
Well, but now I think too, you can get your Pokemon Go Pokemon through a roundabout process into even like Sword and Shield. So it's possible. So I would think that they are smart enough to go, okay, we should let you take your account both places. But who we'll see. It's possible that they screw that up because it's not like the reason I think it's probably more likely that it'll work out well is because Tencent is the one developing this and not Nintendo. So I feel like they're going to be saying, hey, we want money.
And I'm like the Nintendo fan here. And I was like, oh, well, Nintendo's not really developing it. So they won't have their chance to screw it up.
I mean, Game Freak's not developing it. And like, I'm skeptical of Game Freak a lot. And it seems like the more Pokemon gets out into like the hands of other developers, the more like interesting, fun stuff is happening with it. Like it's obviously the Pokemon company needs to like do that, but like was it Bandai Namco did Pokemon Snap, right, or something
like that.
And it's like and then this like so if they're getting Pokemon out and like doing more interesting stuff instead of just like this is all from the one studio, it seems like there's a lot more creativity and like different experience getting their hands on the franchise now.
It's interesting because I had a feeling when they announced this, and I don't mean everyone here, but I knew a lot of people who were like, Pokemon MOBA, that's so stupid. They're like years late on this. What the hell? In the back of my mind, I was like, this game is going to fucking rule.
No idea. Well, it's like, I'm
glad that it did.
In the back of my mind, I didn't really have any preconceptions just because I had no MOBA thing at all. So I was just kind of like, I mean, I guess that's a game that will exist that I won't play. That did not work out that way, but
The problem with the MOBA boom was that so many developers that made those games just did League and Dota again, like with very little other than maybe art style changes. They didn't work to really rework mechanics. They all said that they did, but like that Dawngate game, for example, was very pretty, and it was like it was just League. Like there was nothing particularly new about it. So if you look, the games that survived out of that, you have the two stalwarts, League and Dota, which are still very good. you have Smite, which was a totally different spin. My partner and I played a bunch of that this week too, because they have a cool Stranger Things battle pass right now.
Battleborn.
Well, I wouldn't have. I didn't
around.
Battleborn never really counted, in my opinion. It was
hobby grade.
Yeah, it was a different thing. I liked Battleborn actually, but it was a very different thing. In terms of traditional, kind of more traditional MOBA, like Smite survived because it was very different. And so something like Pokemon Unite, it's a very different experience to play it than other MOBAs because of the way the controls work and because of the sort of design of the game. It's actually, it looks kind of similar. If you put it right next to League of Legends, you just go, oh yeah, this looks the same, but with Pokemon skin. But when you play it mechanically, it's so different. So
I can think of one licensed MOBA that is actually pretty good, and you might not expect it, but it is the Adventure
Lord of the
Time
Rings.
one. No, that one's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Adventure Time one is actually pretty good.
Lord of the Rings one was so fucking bad.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything new to talk about with Pokemon Unite, because my feedback for it is basically the same as it was like 3 or 4 months ago. No, almost 5 months ago, where it's fun, it's good. The 10-minute time limit does well by it. It's better for it, and the way they simplify the MOBA genre is smart. I will say
they just turned it into basketball. It's like combat basketball.
Yep.
Well, they also basically removed the need for like laning stages and items and all that kind of stuff.
God, this thing, you know what this game needs? They need to patch out the children who are playing it and ruining my games.
Oh, I had a ruined game yesterday where someone was just AFK in our base the entire game.
Oh yeah, I had that too.
There's not like a ton that can be done about that. Like
no.
Yeah, which sucks, but
they could do stricter connect, because if someone disconnects, then AI will take over.
Yeah, I mean, I just mean like in its current state, there's not a lot that can be done about it.
Sure.
But yeah, there's not really like any action you can take. Like I guess there's kind of a report thing, but I think you need multiple people to agree. I'm not sure. I saw people complaining about it on Twitter, but it is just like, why are there 4 of you bot while 3 of them come and like try to dunk on me top? Like, what are you doing? Please come help me.
You got to get better.
Yeah, I'm playing ranked, and I'm just like, what are you people doing? I'm Snorlax. All I can do is defend and like drop my butt on people.
I disagree.
I mean, I like Snorlax. Snorlax is good.
Experience with Snorlax.
Snorlax is good, but like, there's, like I can carry a Snorlax, but not if I'm like left alone 1v3.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
it's very, very distressing to be like, they've got like a limited like ping system. Like, I need help, or I'm going here, I'm going there, but just it's put the children, make this game rated M, so that way there are no children playing it, and then it'll be good.
You got to make it. It's got to be the adults only. That way they can't sell it.
AO 17, yeah, whatever it is, yeah, 18 plus. Then Pokemon Unite will be a good game. Yeah, it's exactly what they need. Let's see, Alex, what else you been playing?
I have kind of been playing Ace Attorney. I mean, I've been playing that for like a couple months now. I just hadn't really been talking about it on the podcast. And I actually fully forgot that the new Ace Attorney was coming out. Like, I just somehow that completely slipped my mind. So when I saw it come out this week, I was like, oh, right. The Great Ace is like, oh, all right. I forgot that was a thing. So it was kind of like just a funny coincidence at some point. So I don't know if I have that much to say about Ace Attorney other than go for it.
It explains why you were so ready with the the first couple chapters are maybe the worst, but then it gets a lot better.
Yeah.
When I mentioned that I had also played a little bit of Ace Attorney.
Yeah, and I would maintain that like the first case or two in the first game they're not great.
They're fine, but they're not.
But after that they get quite good. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much to add about Ace Attorney. I haven't played the Great Ace Attorney yet. Have you tried it, Allison?
No, not yet. I bought it, but I haven't had a chance to pick it up or play it yet.
On Switch?
Yep.
Is it out on PC as well?
Is it available elsewhere?
I think it's on PC.
It's on PC. I'm pretty sure it's on Steam.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is the place to play that, though, I think.
Yeah.
oh, it is. Oh,
Yeah. I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah. Ace Attorney's good, except for the first two cases. But like once you start getting past where it's super Deus Ex-y and it's like, oh, we're gonna solve this case with ghosts, and it's like, oh, okay. Once you get past that, it gets much better.
Oh, I thought you meant so Deus Ex. Okay, not
like,
Deus Ex Human Revolution.
No,
like
Adam
Deus Ex
Jensen
Machina
doesn't pop out. Though you do get
Ask for this.
You do get Godot, who could potentially be in Deus Ex, just the way he's dressed.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have that much to say about it. Also, I finished Link Click because that finished.
This is that picture Donghua.
Yeah, Donghua. But it's really fucking good. Everybody should watch that show. It's extremely good. I've actually been seeing more people talking about it recently. Like, you got people at Gigguk and stuff talking about it, being like, "Hey, what the fuck? This thing went like criminally unwatched," and I'm like, "Yes, it did." It's just so fascinating. I didn't really talk about the premise last time we talked about it. It was just more of a general impression, like this could be really good, but I'll let you guys know next week. So the general premise of it is, so there's a photography studio where people bring in their films to be developed and stuff like that, which pretty normal.
24-hour photo, just like that Robin Williams movie. Yeah,
exactly. That one's not creepy at all. But in this one, the premise is that one of the main characters can look at the photo and see everything that happened 12 hours after it from the perspective of the person who took the picture. So basically, he can look back at what happened. And his partner can go into the photo and take over the existence, the body and everything of the person who took the photo for those 12 hours. And it is actual time travel, so they can go in and they can make changes, or they get kind of hired to do look up bad financial information from like a potentially shitty game company that's like exploiting users and being like, oh, maybe these people are like doing money laundering. Can you take over the body of their secretary and like act like the secretary until you can get an opportunity to look at this info? And then, things like that. And it also gets into some kind of murder mystery stuff and some greater overarching mysteries and things of that nature that are just really, really, really well done. And there's one in particular, and I would say go in unspoiled because it is worth the mystery. But there's an arc that happens which, if you understand a little bit about modern Chinese history, will be extremely impactful. Like, extremely. Like, they basically, it's like a 3-episode arc where in the first 2 episodes it's just like a normal arc, and then like just there's a part where they're like playing basketball and it's fun, and then there's a part where it's like a semi-romance thing, and then you realize when and where it's happening, which was a huge natural disaster. And basically this guy was the only survivor. So it was him asking him like to make amends to all these people that he couldn't say, all these things to before he died, or before they all died and he survived. And it was, super good. Really smart show. Totally recommended.
All right, and that you said it was on Funimation, or
it is, and yep, it is on Funimation. Yep, and the subs are fucking terrible. Like they're bad, but
hey, that's what it's like watching foreign anime or foreign animation. We've been spoiled with things like Crunchyroll and simulcast and all that, but
Funimation's translations are always bad though, even for their Japanese stuff. Like the Higurashi translations are bad.
Weird. But they're keeping the tradition of the 90s alive, baby.
What? Bad translations?
Bad translations.
Yeah.
Nothing will be quite like the bad fan subs though of the like 2000s. Just of,
I mean,
Keikaku means plan and everything.
Plan, yeah.
The new version of Evangelion has a bad like the translation's bad in that, and it wasn't in the original.
The Netflix one?
Yeah.
Because they they did their own dub and stuff like that. And there's weird, and even in the sub version, stuff. They changed the sub, and
there's very political stuff injected into the new translation because the person who translated it has certain viewpoints that I personally don't align with. Like there's a moment where in the original translation it was something like there was like it was a terrorist protest or something like that, and in the new version it's a leftist protest.
And I think that was it was like, wasn't it about the sarin gas attacks or something?
Yes, they attribute they in a roundabout way attribute the sarin gas attacks to leftists, which is like,
bananas, but like.
And then there's also a moment where a character, one boy says to another boy, "I love you," and it's a little weird that they would say that at that moment, but hey, the show at that point has gone completely off the rails, so whatever. And in the new version it's like, "I like you" instead. And he like gave some bullshit reason about like why he changed it from "I love you" to "I like you," that basically, if you read between the lines, was like, I think it's weird, so I didn't put it in. It's
and there's I've seen a lot of people, especially with regards to anime, be very, very like, oh, I only want literal translations rather than localization, which is nonsense, because like, no, you do not want that. But like there's like a difference between, hey, we're going to make this a little bit more, this is maybe not 100% literal, but it's, kind of getting the same feeling across, versus we're going to attribute the sarin gas attacks to leftists.
And I want to be clear, they don't like say that overtly in the show. You have to kind of dig a little bit to understand that that's to make that connection. But the connection is there if you dig deeper.
Connection is there. And it's like, I think you would have to, I don't know, like there's a difference between, hey, we're going to localize it and, maybe translate a joke so that's not 100% literal, but still be a passable joke too, versus do whatever the Evangelion person did.
Yeah. And with Link Click, I would say the translations that are bad are not so much that. It's not like adding spin to anything. It's more just like, it seems like a lot of the translations were done quite literally, and a lot of the like metaphors don't really make sense. It's like, oh, and then you were in the garden of flowers, but you weren't the sun, and you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Like that kind of stuff. But like the
and
overall,
I think that's
like like all the intention comes through, the story comes through, and that's what matters. It's just you'll just have to occasionally deal with some bad translations. But yeah, two more thoughts about it. One, the fact that these people are turning into basically other people is an extremely interesting conceit, and they also do the hard kind of time travel where your main characters are going back and affecting the past, and that potentially has current timeline consequences, which seems like not very many time travel stories do exactly that. Like it's either going to the future or someone else from the future is coming back to you kind of thing, and it's taking place in present. So like the fact that they're the ones going back and then having to come back to deal with the consequences in the present is really interesting. And also
which is Back to the Future.
Not exactly. Like Back to the Future is different. I would say closer. Well, Steins Gate is pretty much the same. Like it was one of the only ones I can think of that did it similarly. But because they become other people and they don't just stay themselves, or he does. It's only the one person who travels. It ends up being a lot about empathy, because he also kind of is able to understand their emotions and like occasionally have visions into their memories and things like that. So like when he becomes this office worker lady, and he looks at her life and is just like, man, this lady, when she gets home at 3 a.m. after working a long day, she lives in this disheveled apartment with like kind of clothes all over the floor and all this stuff, and like she's ignoring messages from her parents, and he like falls asleep and has dreams about this girl's childhood, and it's just like, how did she get to this, and like how did she turn into like how did her life turn into this kind of stuff, and like he just like breaks down crying because he understands everything she had to go through. Like it's really strong. It's a really, really great kind of way to have windows into people's lives and things like that in a really unique way that I think is worth experiencing. And it's well written. The last thing I'll say though is it ends with just an extreme cliffhanger. Like the last episode, the last moment is just kind of turn every like huge record scratch moment, like, this changes everything. It's
I bet
good.
you're wondering how I got here.
Exactly. But it is good. It's just, it's a big cliffhanger. But they are confirmed to have a second season coming in like a year and a half or something.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, because
it's good that it's at least confirmed rather than like, maybe it will come, maybe it won't.
Yeah, like it's not like Land of the Lustrous in that way. But it's apparently it was extremely successful in China, like extremely successful. So that's really good news because it's fucking awesome.
Cool. That's Link Click, available wherever anime is streamed. You can figure it out. If you know, then you know. Yahoo Anime Rules applies.
Yahoo.
Allison.
Yeah.
You're back on your bullshit.
That's the best way to put it. Yes. So I felt like if there was any game that I had to play for this podcast, I had to, because it's called Idol Manager. And it's basically you manage an idol group, a Japanese idol group. So it is basically a management sim where you have to manage like the money and you have to try and build up this group's fan base while managing the people in your group and saying, hey, trying to train them up and keep them happy in the group while also building up fans and building up stuff. It's hard. It is not easy because I have like $0 and I like immediately am like running my group into the ground with my first playthrough. Like I'm interested to play another playthrough because like it's not easy so far, but and I just played it on the like most normal difficulty too, where I was just like, oh, just play it on the recommended difficulty. This should be fine. And I'm suddenly like, now I'm like significantly in debt trying to like be like, this next single is gonna pull it all around. Come on, guys. So is it you're managing one idol group, or are you like an agency that's managing multiple idol groups? So basically through the story, I think you can get multiple groups eventually, but you're basically like, the idea is that you are like brand new to the industry. There's this business owner who's like, hey, I'm going to front you this money. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Start a group and we'll see what's what. And it's like, I think once you get, if you're good, you can have multiple groups, but that's the thing. Is that I am not very good, but it is there's just so many different variables, and as somebody that follows idol music pretty extensively, it makes all of them make sense pretty significantly, because it's like you have to balance their like what some of their wants versus, hey, their athleticism and like training them up as a dancer. This person started out a little bit later, so her flexibility might not be quite there as somebody who's younger in there. You're like, there's a lot of like individual variables to it that make it pretty interesting to play. It's one of those games where I don't know how appealing it would necessarily be if you're not into this already. But as somebody that's into it, and following like a lot of other people on Twitter who are talking about it, like it does work if you're interested in that kind of music or culture.
So how does the sim manifest? Like, are you making a lot of decisions in like a tree, or is it like bringing up dialogue boxes and you're like, yes, we will do this, or no? Is it or like you're building a house or what?
It's kind of like it's partially time management, so it's kind of has that kind of sim thing where you can either fast forward, you can play it normally, or you can pause, and it's just like you go through each day and you're making decisions for what are they going to do. Are they going to go promote the group? Are they going to go perform? Are they going to take a day off and relax? As well as what the other employees at your agency are doing. Like you have like somebody who's researching promotions for everybody, and you have somebody who does vocals and somebody who does the dance. So it's like you're managing that, and you're trying to basically build up as much money as you can so that you can like keep building money. So you're basically trying to build like an idle business. So it's the main screen is kind of like it shows your building that you're slowly building more rooms into, and you go through several menus to try and get people to do different things during different times in the day. But yeah, no, there's just like a lot of different options. Like you can have a group that you can like have a radio show, for example, or like an internet like streaming show that takes some energy out of people, but it gives you more money and it may give you more exposure. And like the thing that I'm running out of is money because it's expensive. So I'm like, please get me this money.
You can't be an idol for exposure. You got to be an idol for money.
No, idols themselves, do they make the money? No, but it's like it's basically kind of organizing a lot of that. Like there are in the story mode some specific scenes where it's like you make a yes or no decision. Like for some, like for example, I had so there are those individual cutscenes. Like there's somebody who, like at one point the dance instructor came up to me and was like, hey, it would be really helpful if we could get this equipment. It would really help this one person in particular, but everybody else could use it. It would cost, I think it was only like 10,000 yen, but like, again, I was that deep. It was like 100,000 yen. So like $1,000. But I was like, that's a lot of money for me right now. My last single sold like 20 copies. This is not enough money. But I was
didn't even cover the CD it was printed on.
Oh my God. No, it did not. Because you very specifically have like, hey, you choose the print number of CDs and it costs a certain amount to print them. So it's like it feel like it sometimes it feels a little bit like too many moving parts, but at the same time, I feel like once I put a little bit more time into it, that would make it really satisfying. Like once I was like early on, it's just a little bit overwhelming because you're just like, I have to manage all of this and all of that, and I have $0 and it costs money to print CDs, but I can't get money without that. I could push them to do more performances, but all of them are extremely exhausted. Oh no, one of the members got injured and hates me now.
Oh my God.
She got injured.
It kind of sounds, this will be a weird comparison to make, but it kind of reminds me of Civ, where
it kind of does.
Yeah, like you'll do your first playthrough to kind of learn the mechanics and make a bunch of mistakes, so you can do a second playthrough and know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm doing. Like my group right now, it's being run into the ground. I'm not sure how much longer I can make it work because it is very much going to die because I am in significant debt. And yeah, but I think that once I get the ropes a little bit more, I can know, okay, I'm not going to mess around with some of this stuff. I'm going to work on, like, I know the things that I'm going to prioritize early on in the game. And I think that it goes a lot, like, you can go pretty far especially if you build up your group past the super indie stage where I'm at, where I'm like, oh, I sold 100 copies of my single. Good job, me. I was like jazzed about that. But you can do it you can like build it up to the point where you're like doing a world tour and stuff. So it's, I think there's like, I don't know if it's necessarily like necessary playing for anybody that isn't into that, but as somebody that's into it, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad this game exists. Really,
yeah, it sounds cool. Is it good?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's hard. Like I need to put a little bit more time into it, but it's been difficult, and I think it's really really fun. Yeah. I think.
Where are you playing it?
It's on Steam, so I'm playing it on PC.
Okay.
I think they're looking to maybe do other ports, but
they just have to sell more than 10 copies.
Yeah, they have to get it printed.
Which is better than I can do. But it's kind of fun because as somebody that's in the idol community on Twitter, like I feel like all of us are kind of playing it right now because we're all just kind of like starved for content. So we're just like, this looks fun, let's all play. And all of us are kind of having the same experience of like, well, I'm going bankrupt, guys. It's been fun.
Well, you can always start over and leave those broken dreams behind and toss those idols in the gutter.
Yeah, my current group, sorry.
What's the name of your current group?
Moshimos, but with like an apostrophe.
Nice.
Which is extremely like there are a lot of different idol groups, and a lot of them have extremely dumb names. So you know, that's the thing, is that you can come up with the dumbest names and be like,
this is totally reasonable as an idol group name to me.
Like I'm a fan of like my current new idol that I've been following is a new member of the group, pronounced Juice, but their spelling is juice equals juice.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
And they are a pretty popular group too. So
do you know if people have started modding this game to put in like real groups, like put in real images of real idols and stuff?
Oh, I mean, it just came out like a few days ago, so I don't know if it's there yet. But it's on Steam, so they
it's on PC, so people could. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So it's marked as adult only and says it has sexual content on Steam?
I think that you can like kind of choose to be like, since you're like running this underground group, you can choose to be like pretty exploitative if you want to. And like, no, thank you.
Idols.
No, thank you. I don't think it's necessarily, I don't know how saucy it gets, but like I'm avoiding that significantly because I'm like, no, thank you, please.
This may include general mature content.
What's the name of the game again?
Idol Manager.
Oh yeah, but I'm guessing that there probably is like an adult patch where you can make it like
maybe. And it's also like you can like pretty early on, they're like, do you want to be a scumbag? And like, for example, like, hey, they're gonna be like, for their outfits, do you want them to be able to have like the safety shorts under their skirts or no? And it's like, I don't want to be a gross scumbag. No, thank you. But like, I think you can be.
From the Steam discussion forums, someone asking, is this game safe for work or not safe for work? And someone says, it has mature content. There's no nudity, for example. They removed all the nudity from the last version of the beta to the official release. It broke a few events and took out a number of CGs.
There you go.
No.
Yeah.
But Pat, when you asked for the name of it. It very much read as like the, oh no, that's terrible. What's the name so I can avoid it?
No, this game actually looks really cool.
It does.
I actually.
Oh no, I need to just blacklist that off of Steam and
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
I mean,
It's funny you say that because I searched idle and it didn't come up, and I was like, why didn't it? And then I had to search it directly because I have adult stuff excluded from preferences, like from like coming up in the Steam queue.
God, sorry.
But this looks cool, and there certainly are some adult games that are just straight up like porn games that I think are fine, that like are doing it responsibly, and it's some people's thing, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. So this isn't that, though. I thought maybe this had like one of a patch like that, but clearly it's just a it had
I think that it
stuff in it.
And I think that it does a good job of showing, hey, in a bad company it could be really exploitative. Like there have been scandals about certain companies in J-pop and K-pop being like scumbags.
Whether you missed a week where we were talking about the judgment stuff with the SMAP guy and how Johnny's is like, no, you can't put it out. You can't put it out judgment on PC because we don't want it out on PC because of our guy. And
Johnny's is fucking wild. Did you did any of you see the stuff about Johnny himself and his funeral? And there's like pictures of all of them at the funeral, and they all look kind of like, hey, like nobody's
like there's that.
Yeah, because everyone's just like, who cares? He sucked. He was like pretty openly like abusive and shitty. So like, but then also they gave some of his ashes to certain members. It was weird. Johnny's is fucking wild.
The art in this game says to me more, it looks really good, and it looks more like it's just trying to be honest about the industry.
Yeah, and I think
it is trying to be like a game for people to hurt.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like it does a good job balancing like, hey, there are certain things in the industry, certain companies that are great. There are certain ones that are extremely not great.
Yeah.
And it, and then also giving you the kind of like incentive of like, hey, you could run these members into the ground and it might be a little bit easier for you to get money, but also like, you're dealing with real people.
I think you could make a game like that, the DJ gotcha, and it can be fun and just kind of be a lighthearted thing, and like Tokyo Mirage Sessions and stuff. But if you're going to make a game that's supposed to be like a business simulation about idols, I think like you can't completely ignore the fact that like group members' sex appeal is part of the equation for their popularity and success, and it might suck. I'm not necessarily deploying an opinion on it either way, but obviously if you've listened to the show, you probably know what my opinion on that would be. But either way, if you're going to make a simulation game about it, you can't ignore those aspects, I don't think, and have any degree of authenticity. So it seems like this game is at least trying to walk that line. Whether over the long haul it does it successfully or not, who knows? But it looks really interesting to me. I might actually play this at some point.
Yeah, I might give it a shot.
I'd be interested if any of you guys did play it.
It looks
as somebody that's
pretty deep.
It is surprisingly deep, and like playing it for the first playthrough, it was like definitely so deep that it was overwhelming, but in a way that is not, but in a way where I'm like, okay, once I actually understand how to progress with this, it would be interesting to see where that is. And then there's also specific stuff where it's like, hey, you can try to learn more about each member, and I think most of them are, I don't know to what extent they're generated, but they each have like specific like stuff that they'll tell you, and then it comes up later where you can be like, oh yeah, this person's sister was in the Olympics, and it's like you're like, I don't know, it just like it goes a lot deeper than I think I thought it was, and which is somebody that's interested in this, it was fun.
The trailer that they have at the end of the Steam page is pretty heavy.
Yeah, like
not like
mechanics heavy.
No, from like a like what the game is about, kind of like it seems like they're aware of the fact that like doing the shitty thing is shitty.
Absolutely.
From this trailer, the music is good too.
Cool.
Yeah, like they actually they worked with I think some members from the J-pop group Kamen Joshi. So like this is like developed from like a Western developer. I think the developer might be from Russia, but it's like but it is like a Western developer. But they did get like Japanese voice acting and worked with like the members from Kamen Joshi to do like songs and voice acting and things. So it's like, you know, it's from a Western developer, but I'm also like pretty impressed about it. Like, not that clearly somebody who loves it.
Yeah, not that I'm suggesting that like appropriation of like, I'm not saying I think that it's like a great thing that it's a Western developer, but at the same time, it might be useful to have some outside perspective.
Yeah,
of that world that is knowledgeable and working with people who are involved directly in it, rather than just because, you know, you look at, I didn't finish Tokyo Mirage Session, so you would maybe, I don't remember if you finished it or not either, but like certainly that DJ gotcha game, for example, there is no criticality there.
No, well,
like exploring,
that one,
and that's okay.
It's tricky. I mean, there's in one of the stories there for both that and Bang Dream, the two groups that are like closest aligned to their agencies are actually pretty critical of the agencies. Like in Bang Dream, the group is like that is like an agency group is basically like it succeeds in spite of its agency, not because of it, because it's like the agency is like pretty much sucks, but it is like meant to be kind of more of like a lighthearted,
which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Which is definitely,
there could be some value in a group of people who are really interested in the culture, but not necessarily part of it as directly taking a crack at examining it. You know, as long as it's done in a way where they're working with people to portray serious cultural aspects like language and art and stuff accurately.
Yeah, and I think that it. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just looking it up. I had to do a bit of digging, but the developers from Pittsburgh.
Oh, there you go.
I thought
interesting.
I
Pittsburgh, Russia.
Why did I think it was Russia?
I'm not sure, but yeah, like one of the person who started the Kickstarter is from Pittsburgh, and the other person who worked on it is ambiguous, but seems to also be in the States. It's on itch.io as well, by the way.
Cool.
Just want to say, this is the second adults only game on the podcast. The first being Pokemon Unite, which should be adults only.
Yep.
And then Idle Manager. Adults only. You don't need to be like weird and gross to have an adults only rating.
Yep.
No,
you just get the kids out of Pokemon Unite.
I want to play this game just so I can make an idol group called the UwU-Tang clan.
This just looks like one of the more compelling management sims I've seen come out in a while, so I probably will give it a shot.
I'd be interested to hear you guys play it. I'm definitely going to put more time into it. I've only put a couple hours into it, and then I was like, I need to go to sleep. And then I was like, I kept thinking, I was like, ooh, my group is going so bad. But then, you know, I need to actually give them a shot. But
no, seems cool.
Sure. You can't just cut them off too early. You gotta ride it out, see what happens. Maybe they'll get their big break.
You should continue Odd Taxi.
Oh my god, I should. I should.
The idol group ends up playing a very large part in it.
Okay.
All right. Well, this time it's Pat's turn to tell us about the game that has been setting video cards ablaze.
Video cards on fire.
We've talked about this before, the 3090 situation with New World, but it seems like that's been ironed out. But
I clowned on this game for years during its development. Obviously, known Amazon stan me. That's a joke. Yeah. It's not real.
You moved to Seattle just to be closer to Amazon.
Yeah. Hang out with Jeff Bezos.
Oh, I would love to hang out with Jeff Bezos. Jeff, call me. We'll have a great time.
Yep.
I saw some previews talking about how New World was actually good, like around the time that their closed beta access opened up last week. And I was very curious because, as people who listen to this podcast know, I'm a pretty big fan of like survival type games like Valheim and Ark and stuff like that. But there's a common problem with things. Like I have this problem with Conan Exiles. I really like them. I would like to play through the content. To play through the content, you generally need a group of people because those games are balanced and designed for groups of people. To really get the most out of it, what you need to do is play on a server with, 150 people where you've got like 3 or 4 groups of people who have kind of built up their own communities and they're constantly vying for territory and like trying to fuck up each other's shit and stuff. That sounds fun. But if you try to join a public server like that, the people there are monsters and I don't want to interact with them. And I certainly don't want to like talk to people and build a house around them while they're like flying like Kekistani flags and shit like that, which is stuff that really happens in those games. So I'm sure as fuck not doing that. And you can find communities that are better that run private servers, but I already have a lot of stuff that I do with groups of people. And I don't really want to like commit to joining another group where I'm playing a game that I have to like keep up with and stuff. So when I heard that New World had a little bit of elements of that, but without necessarily the same degree, like a little more casual, that was kind of what interested me. So I decided to check it out. Couple of funny notes at the top. One, fuck Amazon, of course, but also this game has like a very specific colonial aesthetic. And a while back, the game director was like asked about this by, I think it was like PC Gamer or somebody. I read the article recently. And he was like, this is not a game about colonization at all. And it's funny because it is not a game about colonization in the, like, there are things this game could have done that would have made me go, nope, no, thank you. Hasn't done those things. You're not like coming to a land that has indigenous peoples on it and taking it from them. The setup for the game is that you are basically sold a map to a magic island, and your character, or a person is, your character is just like a deckhand on their ship in the 18th century. It's set in like the real world, but then you go and there's like a huge storm around the island and a bunch of people die and the ship wrecks and stuff. And you get there and the island is basically like, it's magic and you can't die once you make it through the storm and get on the island. You also can't leave. You can't communicate with the outside world at all. So it's like, hence New World. Definitely not a reference to anything else. And at the very least, there are like ancient ruins there, but there's no people there when they got there. So
yet
they're definitely colonizing it because they're building cities and stuff there and farms and things. But I will say, at the very least, it's not. I have a feeling that at some point in this game's development, and I don't know this for sure, so if this gets to anyone who worked on this game, this isn't a serious allegation, but I have a feeling at some point in this game's development there were existing like tribal societies on this island.
I'm pretty sure they were in like early trailers because
yes, I think they
had to go like, we're gonna
I think they removed that stuff smartly because instead now at least it doesn't feel super gross because it's like there aren't people there. It's kind of silly, but it's also not as it didn't make me go like fuck this. And with the understanding that kind of aesthetic carries a lot of connotations and needs to be handled with a lot of care. I do, I like a tricorn hat. I like a plague doctor mask. You know, like there's aspects of this aesthetic that I think are, I mean, I'm a fan of a musket here and there, preferably not being used to like murder indigenous people and colonize their homelands. But thankfully you're not doing that in this game. So I found I was able to kind of enjoy it in spite of some of those early concerns. They also do a thing, you know, it's Amazon's a huge company. I don't know the size of this team. This team can't necessarily help that they're working on a game for Amazon, but they do a thing that I haven't seen in a ton of AAA games outside of like, there's certainly some that do it. Assassin's Creed does it and stuff, but they pop like a big window that you actually have to click through. That's about like, hey, we're the team that made this is a diverse team of people from cultures all over the world.
A Ubisoft special.
Yeah, we're committed to portraying the cultures and such that are portrayed in this game are done so with utmost care. So who knows how real that is, but like that they don't pop that up when you start Final Fantasy 14, and they certainly use a lot of different cultural aesthetics in that. They don't do it when you start WoW, and they use a lot of cultural aesthetics in that. So yeah. I thought it was an interesting touch. They also pop up a big thing that's like, hey, if you harass people, we will just straight up ban you. And that is something you don't see with these kind of games either. So I thought that stuff was more interesting than anything. I'm not saying that it means that the game is like that they're going to necessarily follow through with any of that, but it was interesting to see.
Is playing it better than playing Crucible?
Oh yeah. So that's where I'm kind of going with this long preamble, is that I think I like this game quite a bit. It's got huge like 2015, 2016 AAA MMO energy, where the combat, there's a little bit of jank. The combat, they describe the combat as a Dark Souls inspired combat system, which is hilarious because it just has a dodge and a block button. Like it doesn't, you click your mouse and swing your sword, you can hold the mouse button down to do a heavy attack, and then it has a dodge key and a block button, and it's like active, it's action based, and enemies telegraph moves that you block, but I would hardly say it has any similarity to Dark Souls at all. Then you get a set of up to like 3 abilities you can do too. So like for sword and shield, I have a shield charge thing where I kind of rush forward and bash them. I have a spin move where I hit everybody around me. And then there's more stuff I can get on the track. So that's kind of the character development is classless. You just pick weapons basically, and then there are skill trees for each of the weapons. They're kind of neat. They seem like they're at least interesting with the different options on them. They have passives and actives, and then you have stat points for your characters leveling up. That it's basically like there's a stat line for health, there's a stat line for like stamina, I want to say, and then the other stat lines are all just contribute to damage with different weapons. So fairly simple character development, but it's there. You're at least making choices. And then the thing that I think it has standard ass MMO quests, at least for a while. I didn't play it super deep because the real game comes out in a month, and I played enough to know I want to stick it out and try it out at launch. So I didn't play very deep into the quest lines, but it has basic ass MMO. Like you wake up on a beach and there's a guy there, and he like looks like an idiot and has bad voice acting and tells you to go kill 4 sailors and stuff. Like it does that to a T. Classic MMO trope of running like shit in towns where there's other people around, but then running pretty okay out in the open world.
Nice.
Unless you've got a 3090 where it just burns your computer down.
Then it just dies immediately. And the UI is really nice. Weirdly, the UI is one of the things that makes me want to play it because I really like the way it looks. But which is funny because the menus are the things that were frying the 3090s. But
specifically the main menu. But yeah.
But then the thing that this game does a little differently is the world map is much closer to what you would find in like a a survival game, or even like a Far Cry or something like that, or a Elder Scrolls game where it's not broken into discrete zones like you would find in most traditional MMOs. Instead, it's one big map that is like fully open. It's not as big as an MMO to typical MMO map, but it's still, I've only been to like one region, and I've probably played like 6 or 7 hours of the beta. So, you know, and there's probably like 15 regions. So there's plenty of room to get your elbows out. It's not small. And each zone has a settlement in the center, or not in the center, but somewhere in it, that's kind of like the main town. And in the town, there's all the stuff you need, like crafting stations and everything. Crafting is a big thing in this game. It is not, if people have at one stage in its development, it was a build a base kind of game. It is not that now. You are not putting up walls. You are not like placing down foundations and stuff in it. You have a camp you can set up in the wild to like be a place where you can rest and restore your health points and stuff, but and works as a respawn point, but it does not have building in the survival game sense. But the crafting stuff is pretty big. I think pretty much all of the like high tier loot, you're not necessarily grinding for it to drop like in a lot of MMOs. You're grinding to get the mats to craft it, and then you can do all kinds of stuff to customize gear that you craft. But the thing that draws me to it that is interesting is that each region has like territory control from one of 3 different factions. And one of the main things that you do, that I assume will be one of the primary things you do later on in the end game, is you can take PvP missions for your faction. And what that looks like is you turn on your PvP flagging, which doesn't matter in town, but once you get out of the town, you have 30 seconds and then you can be attacked. No load screens or anything. It's just like you walk through the gate and you're out in the world. And you'll have an objective to like go and mine 30 iron from this one location. So you go there, and somebody else from other factions will have objectives that are like, hey, stop someone from mining 30 iron from this location. So these objectives are designed to funnel players together to get them into PvP conflict. And then whoever is completing their objectives is filling up a control bar on the region. And when the control bar fills all the way, then it schedules for like the next night. It'll schedule like in real lifetime. It'll schedule a war, which is like an instanced 50 versus 50 battle between the 2 factions. And I assume, because the servers can have thousands of people on them, so I assume it's like spawning multiple of these instances and then averaging the results of all of them. But then whoever ends up winning the siege battle, where there's like siege equipment and you're attacking a castle and stuff, they take control of the region. And that faction then gets like to tax people that are using the region's crafting stations and stuff like that. And you get like other certain like benefits from being the faction that's in control. And, you know, the goal is to take over as much territory as you can. So
Amazon is advocating for taxing the wealthy. I see.
Yeah, well, I wish. So that kind of PvP interaction is kind of what I was hoping for from this game, because I want to do that in a game that's like got tiny bits of like open world sandboxy survivally stuff. And you don't have to join a group of players to participate in it. You can just kind of pop in and turn your flag on and go do some objectives. And if you want to, you can hit a quick looking for group message in town and ask if people want to come out and help you and stuff. But you don't necessarily have to be like in a Discord with a guild, like talking about your PvP time all the time. So it kind of works out for what I wanted. It does have dungeons and stuff and like landmarks to explore. It's got all that kind of traditional MMO stuff. So I don't think it's worth it for you if you're not interested in PvP, but it's not like that's the only thing there is to do either. And the combat is pretty okay. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, and kind of where it goes. I was to say hopefully, because it's Amazon. Another thing I'm interested in is seeing how much of a shit show launch is, because it's not like it's such a unique situation where Amazon literally owns and operates the servers that the game is running on. So in theory, they should be able to be very agile with allocating servers to the game, but we'll see.
But yeah, like,
and
so
don't they the rumors, or the scuttlebutt is like they're always like trying to be like make stuff to show off Amazon Web Services, and like Google's like doing the same stuff. So now it's like now's the time to like, no, you shouldn't have any server issues.
Yep. Yeah. So apart from crafting, apart from PvP, what is the primary like carrot on the stick that is driving you forward? Like, is there a story in it that's interesting? Is there like major character progression that you're getting that is like super satisfying, or like is it purely the crafting and PvP?
It's mostly the crafting and PvP. You're leveling up your rep in each region, which is kind of cool, and you're getting like discounts on stuff or faster XP gain or faster resource gathering for doing that. And I think the leveling, the thing that I had never really, like, I hadn't thought about before, that my partner started playing a little bit of Final Fantasy 14 this week. And she was like, so what do you do when you level up? And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, where do you pick your like talent trees and your skill stuff? And I was like, oh, it doesn't really have that. And I hadn't really thought of that before, that like, that's a game that like doesn't have any kind of choice making as you develop.
There is, yeah, it's just here is your character.
And then I was thinking about like WoW has talent trees and stuff, which is a little more in depth, and then like Diablo has some stuff. But I would say New World's character progression, while simple, is kind of almost more interesting than most of those games, because you're at least like developing a build, and the different weapons do have like the skill trees associated with them. So to some extent, that's a carrot on the stick. I think for me, the main thing is seeing more of the world, because I think the world is fairly interesting from a visual perspective and from a like environmental storytelling perspective. I don't know that the story so far is you wake up on a beach, you defend yourself, you meet this like conquistador guy who fucks you the hell up, and then you wake up on a different beach, and then there's a guy that's like, well, we can't die anymore because the magic island makes it so we don't die. And
it's the beach that makes you not die.
Yeah, exactly. and then you do some stuff for him, and he's like, well, they're going to want to meet you in the settlement, so go to the settlement. Then you go to the settlement, and he's like, well, you got to go do a bunch of this fetch questy shit to like learn more about what's going on here. There's like not really a story so much as it's a few NPCs with voice acting saying like, you need to learn the way of the island, and telling you to go around and talk to people. So I don't know that it'll have a story per se, but there's also things like there's huge obelisks all over the place. So when you go near them, they got a lot of skeletons there, and you can go inside the obelisks, and there's like weird art on the walls and stuff. So I think there's certainly lore there that will roll out. But mostly it's being interested in participating in the kind of high end stuff. Your character level gates you from doing the different activities. So by leveling up and progressing, you're getting access to different activities. And there's things like, there's what they call them, like outpost events or something, outpost sieges, where once you get to the like max-ish level, I think 60 is the max level, you can actually like queue into 20 versus 20 PvP games, which will affect territory control. And that maybe seems like one of the more fun things to do when you're hitting close to the end. And then otherwise it's kind of EVE Online, like where, getting control of the map for your faction is sort of the thing. And you can participate in that stuff without joining a guild. There are lots of guilds, and they do not fucking moderate the names of the guilds at all, which is buck wild right now. I found guilds like the Hot Piss Boys Club, which is
hell yeah.
I want to be in. That one was good, and I saw some other like Foot Lovers was one that I saw.
Sure.
There was like a lot of there was like a fuck boys one, and like there's a lot of like, wow, we're not even having to spell these things in words in like ways that are weird. There's just no moderation on any of this stuff. And I only saw one that was shitty. So
is there any that are like including the words Amazon or Bezos or
unionize?
I hadn't seen those, but I will say that I was shocked to find that both the voice chat, which is on by default, and it took me a little while to realize that and figure out how to turn it off, and the text chat, pretty cool. Not like, haven't seen any Baron's chat type like gross stuff in there. So
that's good.
Who knows? Maybe one thing that's weird about this game that I think will be interesting, because I know a few other people who are going to play it and we'll see how it goes, is there are like a lot of servers, because less because of any kind of capacity issue, but more with the design of the game. They're not doing Final Fantasy 14 sized or WoW sized servers with like, I don't know what the player count is on a FF14 server. I assume it's tens of thousands of people for like the maximum that can have characters there. Because like there's not that many servers on each data center. It's like 10 or something. This game, I think, has like each region has like a few dozen servers. And I think it's more like 3 to 5K people per server, if that. And so it'll be interesting to see how much of a pain it is to try to play with friends, because I get the impression that they're trying to split the difference between a like MMO style server and a Arc or Conan sort of server where you get to know people around and see the same people and, you know, see the same guilds and stuff. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how that stuff shakes out, because I can see it being a situation where it's like a year from now, I've played it, you know, 20 hours or something over the course here and there, just to have a little bit of fun with some PvP stuff. And then someone goes, oh yeah, I play New World, I'm on this server. And the choice is like, oh, I could play this with this friend and make a new character and start over, or I could never play with them because they're on a different server. Interesting.
That's always rough.
I think there's some way to like take your character around to different servers if it's on the same region, but I wasn't totally clear on that. So I don't know, but it's interesting for sure. At the very least, I will definitely be reporting back when it comes out for real and get to see what it looks like a little longer term.
All right. There's been your Amazon Minute, brought to you by Pat.
I'm very much not gonna. I was playing Ace Attorney also, and then I started playing something else and fell off of Ace Attorney, but I'll save that for probably next week.
All right. In the meantime, before that, I played some games this week. I actually forgot I played one of them, and then I was like, wait, we never talked about this. I didn't forget I played it. I just forgot that we never talked about it, really, because Pat played it too, but I don't know how much he played. And Death's Door came out two weeks ago or something, week ago. I don't even know.
I played like the first, like almost to the first like real dungeon boss. Like after you get the kind of like, you got to go around to these dungeons talk. And I kind of like, I liked it a lot, but I haven't felt a ton of drive to go back to it. So I will at some point.
Death's Door is, despite what many people would tell you, not a Souls-like. It's more like a hyper light drifter. 2D, go around, fight the bosses. There's nothing Souls-like about it other than you can die and then you respawn, but that's
we seem
like
to have
game.
entered a zone where Dark Souls is like the action RPG. So now if a game is an action RPG, people call it a Souls-like when they're just action RPGs, because it's the same thing with New World. Like there's nothing Souls about it. It's just an action game where it's also an RPG.
Yeah, it's very, very strange to hear like people who should know better saying it. Like hearing the Waypoint people say like, oh, it's like, Dark Souls, or
they also said it's nothing like Dark Souls.
Maybe it might not be like Giant Bomb, kind of some people there. I think like Danny O'Dwyer like compared it. He's playing Demon Souls right now, but like
if I'm remembering correctly, they had the same conversation that we're having right now about on Waypoint when they talked about it.
Because it's not not a Souls-like. It's, you know, you get you get experience points for killing enemies, then you go to a place to level up. That's about the similarities. Like, you know, there's some challenge to the bosses, but there's challenge to the bosses in every game. It is most like Hyper Light Drifter, but it's been a while since I played Hyper Light Drifter, so there might even be like a better example than that. But hey, Hyper Light Drifter is good. Go play it.
Is there kind of like a Hollow Knight-ness to it?
No.
Okay.
That's what.
Yeah, I haven't really looked.
It's
Like,
Zelda more than anything. That's like the thing it's closest to, really.
Yeah. It's that. It's like Hollow Knight is very much a Souls-like, and this is not that at all. But it is a game about you're a crow, and the crows are kind of like the Grim Reapers of the world, and they go around. When it's time to die, they go and they collect your soul and you know, do their crow business. But something is like thrown the world out of whack, and there's you know, not everyone is dying as much as they should be. Some people aren't dying at all. And as you're out on an assignment, as you're about to collect the soul, you get kind of snuck up on, and that soul is stolen from you. And so kind of the first thing you got to do after that is go chase down the person who stole it, because basically you're compromised until you can collect that soul. And your handler or whatever back at the Reaper HQ or whatever they call it is like, I don't want to deal with this paperwork. You gotta go get that soul back. And then, as Pat mentioned, eventually you find out like, okay, I gotta go find these other, go to these dungeons, kill these people who aren't dying, and get their souls so I can open this door to help this guy out, because he had a job go bad, and his soul that he was supposed to collect is gone. So like that stuff, it's got like fairly interesting world building. Like it's always like hinting at new stuff, but it's nothing like super like meaningful. It's not as like obtuse as like a Dark Souls game, but it's not like super like, here's exactly what's going on. But it's entertaining enough. I think the writing is pretty good and goofy when they do get to it. Like you meet a dude with a pot of soup for a head.
Pothead.
Yes, his name is Pothead, and they put it up in like big font across the screen when you meet like a new character, or like, a funny thing happens. They're like, we're gonna title it, which is, it's overall pretty good humor.
The writing's good.
Yeah. And like even just like outside of the humor, just I'd say pretty solid writing all across. And there's like a dude who like kind of helps point you towards secrets, but it's just like a squid like that is taken over a dead guy's body and is like strapped to his back, and he feeds you soup. It's very strange.
A lot of soup in this game.
Yeah. If you were a soup, what soup would you be?
Split pea. Split pea is my favorite soup.
Okay. Alex?
Some kind of ramen.
Sure.
I guess if we're counting ramen,
it is a soup.
It is, yeah. I like ramen a lot too. But
Allison?
I think I'm gonna go for like a butternut squash soup.
Hell yeah.
Okay, wow.
That's a good
I
one.
like a salmon chowder.
Sure,
but that's neither here nor there.
I wish I had some split pea soup right now. I would destroy a bowl of split pea soup.
Okay. Someone get this man some soup.
There might be some in the pantry. I might eat some soup after this podcast. We'll see.
But yeah, to Pat's point earlier, like saying it's a Zelda game, it is like got a lot in common with Zelda, so much so that like you're getting like items like a bow. You start off with the bow, but you get a bow, bombs, like a torch, like a fireball, and like a hook shot, like that kind of stuff to help you get around the world and navigate, find secrets, and fight enemies. I didn't feel super compelled to like go back and like do all of the like, now I got the hook shot so I can go to all these places now, just because it became pretty clear that the stuff was kind of inconsequential. There is, I guess, like a post game stuff you can do, but it sounds like it's not super interesting. There's like a true ending, but it doesn't sound like it's actually all that.
The game sort of
exciting.
suffers from a thing that I have a really hard time placing. Like, I think it's good overall, so I don't want to sound like super negative on it, but you know when you play like an early build of something and it sort of feels like it's like the walls are kind of made of paper, and it's like if I were to poke at this too hard, the thing, it's like kind of like missing something, like it feels like it's not all the way there, and it's gonna get there probably, but it's not quite there yet. That's like the feeling I can't escape when I do play Death's Door. And I don't know if it's because it's missing a map or if it
would be nice to have a map. There are times where if I had just had a map, like, oh, right, I forgot there was a door over here in this part of this room or whatever. And
I can't remember if this is actually the case with this game or not, but it feels like a sort of game, and this isn't meant as like a pejorative or like too much of a value judgment. Feels like the sort of game that you would launch it and it would pop up with a UI asking you which controller you want to use and set your controller settings in a window before the game starts.
It does not do that.
It's just like, it feels like that kind of like degree of like very like new team trying a lot of stuff for the first time. And there's nothing wrong with that, because
there is this team's first like attempt at making like this style of game, but Titan Souls, Titan
Chaser, that's a different thing. That's a game I played earlier this year, which also has the same thing to a higher degree. But yeah, there was something about while playing it where I was just like, it's very hard to articulate, but it's really like the inescapable feeling of like the walls around me are made of paper right now, which is a bad way to frame it, because it's not like the game actually has paper walls in it that are you're breaking down, but just felt like it was not all the way there for me.
It's like you can see the compromises that got made somewhere along the way, like someone being like, I want to do this, I want to do something really ambitious. They're like, we don't have time. We're like, okay, we'll plant the seed of the idea there, but we're not going to execute it all the way.
It's like just a little bit, it's like it's just lacking a little bit of weight in everything, but just a little bit, like just not enough to make it an unsatisfying experience. But it's like you hit the roll button and it's like, okay, or the dodge, the dash. It's like, okay, that worked fine. Didn't feel quite as good as I would like it to, but it's okay. It works. Same thing with like the attacking, like, yeah, I hit that thing and it died. It could have been a little chunkier and weightier, but it worked.
I think part of that at least comes down to like what weapons you have, because there are different weapons you can use, like fast weapons and like slower, heavier weapons and stuff like that. So, and you can upgrade your like speed and like the time between rolls and how fast you move through the world.
Yeah.
I didn't find that
doesn't feel like it matters to me at all.
Oh, you haven't even gotten like super far, but I was about to say, having beaten it and like fully upgraded some of the stuff. I fully upgraded the damage. I didn't fully upgrade anything else, but I got it up there, and it didn't feel like, oh, well, now that I've got this, like my dexterity or whatever leveled up 2-3 times, now I'm like really moving through the world or anything. It didn't feel like that at all. So that, like, the movement, I think, is definitely something that is like the part that's not quite there for me. I think overall, like the gameplay, like the moment to moment, like the combat and all that stuff, that works for me.
It's good. Yeah.
But there, like moving through the world, there's something that isn't quite there.
Yeah.
But it's hard to put into words.
Exactly. Yeah. That's sort of what I'm saying too, is it's hard to articulate, but It's just, and like I don't get that feeling when I play something like Hollow Knight. I'm like, oh no, this is locked in. This is extremely tight, and it feels like it just feels kind of perfect.
They need to like a sprint or like a dash type thing. Like they've got the roll, but like a dash that was like, okay, I can run quick. At least for me, that would have been nice to just be able to get through the world a little bit quicker.
And I think part of it is like they could have added that, but then that's another thing. I think maybe there's too many systems in the game that maybe don't necessarily add that much, and then it's missing things like a dash and a map and stuff like that.
Maybe.
And maybe like maybe it didn't need to have multiple weapons, and maybe a map and a sprint would have made it feel a little bit better. Maybe like I pick up this umbrella, and it's not like the umbrella feels like it's a joke weapon. Like it doesn't seem like it does anything.
Yeah, no. Stuff like the other weapons are definitely more useful once you get to those.
Sure.
But I never even used the umbrella because I thought like, oh, maybe there will be like a reason to use it for like a rainy area or something. But I never really encountered a thing like, oh, I want to try the umbrella here or something. But yeah. Anyway, it's fun.
It's good though.
And
it's
like,
good.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed my like 7.5 hours with it. So,
which is part of why I will finish it at some point too, because it's not that long.
It's not super long.
Part of why I'm being
more if you want to do everything, but
part of why I'm being critical of it is because I think like one, it's received some pretty extraordinary praise from some places, and I think I see why people like it that much, and it's like almost there to me. If it was like a little bit better, then I would like it a lot more. So whereas instead it's kind of in that like it's good and I want to finish it, but I don't know if it's one of my favorites of the year kind of place.
Sure. The other thing I played is Super Sami Roll, which is on Steam. It is a 3D platformer, which borrows a lot from something like a Mario 3D World and like a Super Monkey Ball and like other, I don't know, 3D platformers. I don't know. I am not good at 3D platformers, mind you, at all. I'm absolutely terrible at these kinds of games. And that has made my enjoyment of Super Sami Roll somewhat difficult, but it is a neat little thing. You're this little like lizard dino guy with a big tongue, and you're going around these levels. I think you're chasing down. Oh, I think you're looking. So your friend has been kidnapped by some bad guy, and you got to go through these levels to find her. It's very similar in a lot of ways to like a Mario 3D World, like I said, just with like the level design and stuff like that.
It kind of sounds like Chameleon Twist in a way also.
We've not played Chameleon Twist, but very possible. As the name might imply, Sammy can roll into a ball much like Sonic and speed through these levels. So that's where a lot of the challenge comes in, is navigating narrow pathways and like right turns as you're this ball and maintaining momentum. And then, trying to keep up your speed as you go around these corners so you can make jumps and use your tongue as a grappling hook to jump through gaps and stuff like that.
Very Chameleon Twist then. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah. This is a game where, like I said, I'm very bad at it, but I would love to see like speedrunners get their hands on it.
Seems like that'd be a fun game to watch, like speed.
Yeah, like seeing like GDQ runs, like finish the whole thing in like 5 minutes or whatever would be pretty entertaining.
You could really do some good stuff to, optimize movement, like just looking at the trailer on Steam.
Yeah, and just like momentum going across, like they have some in the trailers where you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to jump over here and use the tongue and then bounce off that and whatever. Because you can kind of just like use your tongue infinitely if you like to like climb up walls and stuff.
Yeah, same.
Spider tongue. some stuff seems kind of weird. Like I've only done one boss fight. I'm like halfway through the second world, but it's like a level that felt a lot like a Mario 3D World level where you're like climbing up this tower as the lava comes after you. And then I get to the top of the tower, and then this monkey in a car shows up, and I'm like, excuse me? Why are we here? What are we doing? So that was like a little weird. But aside from that, it's, if you're into 3D platformers, I think this is probably a pretty good one for people to check out.
Is it only on Steam? Because I know I saw you playing it on Steam, but
yeah, as far as I know, currently only on Steam, but it could come to Switch maybe someday.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have any plans.
Yeah, I only know that because I saw you on Steam when I was inviting you to Dota and you were playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did stream a little bit of Super Sami Roll. I'll probably stream a little bit more in the coming weeks, or this week or something. I've got some other ideas for stuff I want to stream while I've got the next month off. But it's
Does it got like challenge modes and stuff? Like, because like it looks like it has an overworld where you're kind of picking your stage, much like the Mario World. But
yeah, it does have an overworld, and it's got like 3 different art styles. It's got like a 2D animated art style that plays sometimes, and then it's got like a cartoon kind of thing, and then it's got its overworld like Mario. What's the fourth one? Super Mario
World?
Is it Mario World? Okay, yeah. So Super Mario World, and then also like the 3D platforming stuff. So the art style is all over here, and it's like, well, okay, it's too much, but I think they all work individually for what they're doing. There is like a multiplayer mode you can unlock, and maybe there's some other challenge mode stuff that I haven't gotten to, but there's like stuff you can collect in the levels and whatnot, and try to beat your times. But I haven't seen like a dedicated mode that's like, oh, here's the hard version of the level or anything like that yet.
Right. Are there bosses, like boss battles?
Yeah, so there's like, I've only seen one, and it was that monkey in a car.
Oh, right. Oh, that was a boss.
And it's
okay.
Yeah. So that was like, oh, I gotta move around and make the bullet that the car shot like turn around and then hit the car, and then I can bounce on the monkey's head. Yeah.
Is there a Bowser style antagonist who's constantly like?
That would be the monkey in the car, but he's not like.
Oh, okay.
He's not. Yeah.
He's not.
He's like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. He's not been like showing up all the time. It's not super dense on story. It's just kind of like, oh, your friend was kidnapped and now you got to go save her. But seems like Super Sami Roll is currently only on Windows on Steam. So yeah.
Cool.
And with that, we'll move on to the news.
The news?
No, not the news. The news.
I have the hottest breaking news that we have to cover before we get anywhere else.
Break it to me, baby.
As part of this weekend's charity event, the 4 Hours of Roval, iRacing committed to teasing some new developments if they hit a certain donation level, which they have hit. And I'm happy to say it sounds like Rain is coming to iRacing by the end of the year. You may ask yourself, the most popular sim racing game on PC that exists, that's been out since 2008, doesn't have Rain? And I would tell you, yes, that's correct. It does not have Rain.
I mean, Mortal Kombat 3 had Rain, so like
lots of Sims or Sim adjacent, Sim Katie kind of games have really good Rain. iRacing still does not have Rain, but the screenshots they showed of the work in progress Rain looked real good. So
MK also has smoke though, so
there is plenty of smoke in iRacing, especially if you drive the rookie splits. You can blow your engine up good, and there'll be smoke all over the place.
Oh, is Blood Rain going to be in the game?
No, there won't be any blood rain. Just normal ass rain.
Rain of blood?
No, just regular from the heavens rain. You could probably put a mod in Assetto Corsa for blood rain.
All right. Well, do we want to start with the bummer stuff this week, or less bummer, but still? Or we started with the bummer stuff last week, so like,
let's just get it out of the way.
Let's just get it done.
Yeah, okay.
Let's just knock it out.
Continuing from last week, the situation at Activision Blizzard is ongoing.
Gets worse.
It ain't over. It somehow does. It like they started off that lawsuit was really a doozy, and their stuff just keeps getting added.
Oh my God, yeah.
So on Wednesday there was a walkout staged at Activision Blizzard where employees walked out and did not work. It seems like there was a lot of Activision Blizzard has hired a union busting law firm to come on board, and
as you do if you're a good company.
Yeah,
it's a union busting law firm that Amazon has also used.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Just to reiterate the fuck Amazon part of the New World discussion.
And lots of like shady stuff going on around there, and them trying to like reduce down the sessions with which they're talking to people, and divide and conquer probably is their MO here. But staff have been working together. There was an open letter signed by over 1,000 current and former employees that to management going, hey, we don't have faith in you and we want a seat at the table, and we'll see how that goes.
And it's just like the fact that Kotick and I think it's Brack, who's the head of Blizzard right now, haven't just resigned is like, it shows that they do not give half a fuck about these problems.
Oh yeah.
The weird thing is, like, Kotick's statement was actually pretty good. Like,
yeah, sure.
If you read it, like, but I really doubt he wrote it. It was probably written by someone else, and
absolutely not.
He approved it, kind of thing. And also, like, the fact that like his was the most even-keeled, even-tempered, like, hey, yeah, there's issues, like, we should be addressing them. Whereas the initial response was like, no, these people are lying, fuck them. Like, it just went straight to victim blaming.
They simultaneously did, there are no issues and we're working to resolve them. And you're just like, what?
Yeah,
and they also did situations like this is why businesses are leaving California.
Oh yeah, it was like
almost immediately. Yeah. So like the Kotick statement, while it independently, just like it as its own entity, if you read it, like, I don't like Bobby Kotick either, but it was a decent statement. It was too little too late and seemed kind of insincere.
Well, and also that's totally deliberate to make him seem like the good guy.
And also that statement included the information about the law firm that they're working with, I believe.
True.
So
I think you're right.
And Brack's statement also like feigned sincerity, but it's like, okay, but you're not doing anything yourself.
No, that one was that the one from the World of Warcraft team, or was that separate?
No. So the team, team put out like their own statement that was kind of opposed to the statements that like had initially come out from Activision Blizzard.
That one was also kind of shitty in its own way, though, because it was like, oh, we know we have some references in world that we're now going to be removing, which, hey, good. But it did nothing.
That was the Brack one, I think.
Okay,
no, that was in the World of Warcraft statement as well.
It was in the World War. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, we're going to remove these things, but sure, good. They didn't once address the actual issues. Like, they didn't once address, like, yeah, we're going to make sure that it's a better, more equitable place for women to work, or we're going to be like auditing ourselves and the kind of stuff. It wasn't any of that. It was just like, yeah, we're going to remove some NPCs that didn't age well.
I'll tell you why all these statements don't have anything about that, they don't want to lose their shit in this lawsuit, like lose their shirts in this lawsuit. So they're not going to say we're going to address the sexual harassment issues, because they don't want to acknowledge it, because they have lawyers saying if you acknowledge it too much and say anything more than we're looking at these issues, then that's an admission of guilt that the state will use to push settlements and stuff. So that's why I'm not saying it's a good thing or saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that's true.
Fucked. That's totally fair. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah. And to me, I mean, that's also part of why I think you haven't seen resignations from these people at the top of the company. But I also think like it tells me that they're not, the fact that they let all of this stuff happen, Brack specifically let this stuff happen, according to reports that I, of course, believe, and I don't think there's any reason not to believe. And he is still sitting in his office during the week, is like, dude, you don't give a shit about these people. You can tell yourself you do all you want, but you don't give a shit about these people deep down, because you're not doing the thing that would actually show that you care. Which is, leave and let somebody who's more responsible step in and maybe gonna improve people's lives there. Take your J. Allen Brack is very wealthy. It's not as if like I think it's wrong to shame people for working at problematic places when they're not part of the problem, because most people at Blizzard are not rolling in cash. And
right. And most people can't afford to just quit their job and
and also a lot of people who work on those teams care a lot about the games that they make, and they care a lot about the team that they're on, and they're not part of the problem. So I don't think that it's fair to like shame people at the company, but certainly it's fair to shame the management at the top of the company who's doing wrong and has plenty of money and can quit their jobs and can acknowledge that they've been part of the problem and remove themselves from the environment.
Yeah. And I think with Brack in particular, it's weird because he kind of inherited the problem, because he's relatively new to being the head there, right? Like all things concerned, but like I think
but he's been in management there for a long time, just not at the top.
And there's like video of him being like part of that sort of like culture and problem, like in public at like BlizzCon. So
fair enough, but like it's just weird. I mean, I can imagine it being weird. You become the leader of this company, and then I think it was like within 2 months is when the California investigation started up. It's like, well, ouch. So that sucks.
And
but
also he was named as the person that was quote unquote counseling one of the worst offenders at Blizzard of sexual harassment, and doing it for years without actually taking action against him, and instead just basically bringing him into his office and saying, hey, don't do that anymore. And then nothing changed. So like,
that's
I don't know.
Supremely shitty. Speaking of corporate interests.
I
was just gonna say, speaking of corporate interests ahead of actual humans, which is something we talked about last week, which was very much because at that point, only that initial statement had really come out at the time, where we were basically able to say, yep, don't trust anything the HR is going to put out or PR is going to put out, because they're purely going to be protecting the big heads up top, which very much ended up being true. And I think one of the more interesting things I saw going around personally was extremely shitty as it is, the thing that kind of tied the crew that were hanging out in the quote unquote Cosby suite and where they are now in their careers. Like being like, oh, this is the head of Riot, this is like a VP over at like this other big company. It's like, these people are still very much heads of industry.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, you see it like, we have it on the sheet here that Ubisoft employees also signed a letter addressing the fact that all this stuff is still happening at Ubisoft. Square Enix put out a statement that was like, we support our people and we want you to talk to this like arbitration firm, basically, which is also a union busting firm. Like, all of these companies suck. They don't give a shit about their people who work there. They don't give a shit about you as a person who likes their stuff. Like, it's bad. It's bad from top to bottom across the industry. And it happens at indie developers as well. It's just like, it happens.
Absolutely.
It's such a,
look at fuck, what was their name?
Skullgirls devs.
Yeah, the Skullgirls.
Yeah,
That's exactly
well,
what I was thinking of.
Lab Zero.
You know,
Lab Zero.
It had a very complicated and difficult and upsetting end. But I mean, look at all the stuff that happened with Alex Holaka last year, and like all the stuff that came out over the course of their involvement in harming countless people over the course of moving through various indie spaces. Look at the developer, the Cultist Simulator developer, was
and all the bullshit.
Yeah.
All the bullshit Zoe Quinn had to go through for years and years and years.
Exactly. It's just it is, and what I think we fail to realize is, I was talking to this a lot with my friends. This is also happening in fast food restaurants and newsrooms and manufacturing companies and machine shops and mechanics and warehouses. This is happening in every single industry around the world. And we see it because games are unique in that they're an entertainment medium where there are lots of websites with high traffic that are devoted to reporting on them. So it means that when they do the reporting, it gets seen and it's more visible. But this is a huge, and I don't say any of this is to like say, don't worry about it so much because it's happening everywhere. What I'm saying is it's horrible that it's happening everywhere. I'm glad that there is this spotlight on games because it illustrates a problem that is so widespread throughout industries everywhere. And the thing that, though, I mean, I have my own views on ways to solve this problem that are more political, but certainly from a behavioral standpoint, if you're a dude, you have to call it out when people act shitty. And I don't just mean when they're harassing people. I mean, when they say something, when one of your friends makes a shitty joke about someone, or when they say something in a Discord call that's just kind of not cool, you can't shrug it off. You have to call it out when it happens. And it might make you feel like you're like, I'll never forget the time when I was in a friend's basement and it was like 10 dudes sitting around drinking beers. And it was people that I thought I didn't have to worry about this stuff about. And then they started talking about a few of them worked together, and they started talking about one of the women that worked with them. And it didn't go all the way to like disgusting territory, but they said a few things about like, oh, she only has the job because she's married to so-and-so and stuff. And I was like, this fucking sucks. This is a shitty conversation. And immediately I basically was asked to leave, and like, was like, if you're not going to have a real conversation, like if you're going to spoil the fun, then we don't want you around. And I realized like, oh, this is like not that moment can be traced to why this stuff keeps happening and keeps happening around the world, because the toxicity that's present in so many communities that are patriarchal, which is like most of society, is just there from the top to bottom. And we have to work to call it out and to shut it down whenever you see it, not just when it gets all the way bad.
Yeah, because I think there's no persecution. Yeah. It gets encouraged, or if not encouraged, it gets tolerated to the point where it just becomes normal for some people to have that mentality and not feel like they're ever going to get reprimanded for doing so. So yeah, no, totally agreed.
And I don't believe, if you think it doesn't happen in your friend groups and your work groups, you're not looking hard enough, and you're not actually understanding how things you think are no big deal are actually problems. Because I have never encountered a group of men where it doesn't happen sometimes. And in the best cases, it happens in a way where people go, oh shit, that's right. That's not cool. I shouldn't have said that. My bad. And I have seen that thankfully happen in some of my, in the groups that I'm close with now. I've seen that happen. And it's thankfully not a daily occurrence that someone even says something they have to apologize for, but it's not perfect all the time. And you know, it's because misogyny is so internalized, I think, that by in so many communities that it's you really have to pay attention to it, even from yourself, and really think about it all the time. And that's the only way that on a behavioral level it can get better. There's other structural things that DM me if you want to talk about those that we don't have to get into right now. But yeah,
definitely.
I don't know though. Do you all feel like this is going to bring some form of reckoning to the industry, or is this going to be a slap on the wrist that just continues on unabated?
It's hard to say. I feel like the thing that I mentioned last week and that I still agree with is that I do think that, you know, the public opinion of it is changing. That being said, I don't know to what extent that's going to matter. And so it's hard to say.
Yeah, like unless something like really, you know, something really comes out that incriminates and puts like Kotick or Brack like at the center, like, you know, you knew this happened because you were there, or, you know, you were guilty of doing this thing or whatever. You know, I don't expect anything to happen to those people unless somehow the Activision Blizzard people get unionized. I don't know that, you know, they can't oust they can't necessarily oust Kotick or Brack, but that could actually be like positive change for the industry. And if it happened at Activision Blizzard, then it would be, you know, that would give like the chance or like motivation maybe for other studios to go, okay, if they can do it, we can do it.
What I will say is I don't know people close enough to talk too much about the conditions at like Riot, for example, but
yeah,
from what they indicated, they talked a little bit about it on Waypoint Radio, and Patrick Klepek talked a little bit about like context he has at Riot. It sounds like conditions there have steadily been improving over time. So I think that there is certainly a slow burn, to your point, Allison, as people realize that their behavior isn't socially acceptable on a wider level. I think that it turns into pressure to be less bad, but I don't think that this stuff will be eradicated so long as companies continue to exist just to make money and for no other purpose. And that's just the way that, because power dynamics being what they are, whatever the group that holds the power wants to do is what's going to fly through the company. And it may sound wild that that's the case, but that is just how it works. And there's no real way to solve the problem other than not only unionization, but also shifting the purpose of these groups away from purely existing to turn a profit. Which is why I think it's perhaps more likely that you'll see it in the change happen in the indie space first, as long as these things continue to be considered less socially acceptable and bad actors continue to get outed. A lot of the worst perpetrators of this kind of abuse in the indie space, from my understanding and following of it, are people who have been there for a very long time. Whereas you don't necessarily hear about it as much from younger, newer developers. So I hope that trend continues, because I think indie developers are better equipped to combat this stuff. I think at a place like Activision Blizzard, like you said, they can't get rid of Brack. As someone who's been an enabler of this stuff.
You've got HR against you there, like, you know, all that stuff. But I don't know if there's like, it's easy to say like, indie space, maybe like younger indie devs have more tools to deal with it. But I don't know, you know, we saw like Lab Zero and like they had been around for a while, but like, I don't think there's anything that says like, a new studio or stuff can't, you know, these issues can't arise. Yeah. But
I think it's more that my hope is that those communities will be a little bit more agile in outing bad actors now that there's more precedent for doing so. I think part of the reason why those people were able to operate for such a long time in those spaces is because there was a lot of concern that it would damage careers if they were outed. And my hope is maybe because we've seen it happen there, that like people were afraid to say something because it would damage their careers. And it was less of a structural, like it was still structural, but it was less of like a company. You didn't have HR, you didn't have like all of these wheels moving to specifically reduce your power within a company. It was more of within a larger community. And that was a little more nebulous. So my hope is that maybe that community is feels more equipped to out bad actors now than they did 4 years ago. I don't know. I'm not in that group, so I could be totally off base, but that's kind of my hope. That's where I'm trying to have a little bit of hope for it. Yeah. I don't think you're going to see changes in AAA on a large scale anytime soon at all.
And we had the moment last year with many people coming forward, sharing their stories with the Me Too stuff, but here we are again. But that's some of these things happening, and obviously this investigation had been going on for 2 years now at this point, so like a year at that point or whatever. But like there's still work to be done, and now like I saw EA is reaching out to people who have like spoken out on Twitter and said like, oh, I had this experience at EA, or maybe not even naming EA, but saying like, oh, I had this experience, and then being able to like EA being able to trace it back, or, maybe another company being able to trace it back to like, oh, we're pretty sure she's talking about the experience she had here. We need to get on this and like reach out and talk to them. And, so other companies are now starting to cover their ass because they are not stoked about what they're seeing here.
Yeah. I guess the reason I'm so skeptical of it is like, this is arguably the worst. I mean, I don't want to rank these traumas, but this is like one of the worst dumps of this kind of information we've seen. And this is what, like year 4 in a row where we have an annual release of a bunch of really bad stuff. And Ubisoft certainly hasn't gotten any better. And that was 2 years ago that first really blew up.
Was it 2 years ago? I think it was. Year.
And then last year as well. It kind of just continued from Ubisoft for a long time. Like it's, I don't think, again, there's no incentive for these companies to actually change anything. The only incentive is for them to get the spotlight off of them for a little bit, and then maybe they'll be able to coast for another few years without a bunch of stuff coming out at once. And I think, the one difference this time I will say is that the state of California is suing Activision Blizzard, and hopefully they get taken to the cleaners for it. And then maybe their boards of directors will want Kotick gone as some kind of like some kind of revenge for it or something. I don't know, but like they don't, I doubt that whatever suit the state of California is going to bring to them is going to be enough of an impact on their bottom line that they're really going to care that much. It's just going to be, how do we get out of this as cheaply as possible and move on? Because they don't care about the people being hurt.
But maybe like this pulls enough people out from under a rock and they go, oh, I didn't realize this was what happening. And like, how can you miss it in a lot of ways with some of the stuff that's in that, like the cube crawls and stuff, like, come on.
That stuff happens because somebody goes, the people who don't want to participate are like, I don't have the energy to deal with this. I'm just gonna pretend like nothing's happening. And I know because I've been at companies where that has happened before. Not to that, I've never been somewhere that has been as bad as this in any way, where it's escalated to people being like verbally or physically harassed. But I have been at companies where the culture is such that like inappropriate stuff is happening and nobody wants to deal with it, who's like not participating. And so it's more like, well, those of us who are not the problem will just walk away, heads
down, and we'll just do our work. And
it wasn't cool. I mean, it wasn't the right move. Thankfully it wasn't, in the world of like sexual harassment. So it wasn't like the same kind of harm, but it was still like creating a bad work environment and not making people unhappy. And it had a psychological effect, but you know what? It was easier to just continue to go to work at this job I didn't give a shit about and try to put it out of my mind than it was to actually say something to somebody, especially considering that I knew at the time that, and I won't name the company, but I knew at the time, if I did say something, nothing would have happened. And guess what? It didn't. When I finally got sick of it and said something, nobody gave a shit. Nobody at corporate gave a shit. Same thing kept happening. So it was like a waste of time.
I've had similar scenarios of being like, hey, speaking to management and being pretty open about some very negative, abusive things that were going on from a very specific member of a team, and being told, we know that this person can be a bit hard to work with, but we have to account for all personality types, and they do good work, so you just got to tolerate it. And it's like, well, then fuck you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm saying what has to happen when it enters the realm of harm being done to people. Not that isn't harm, that's its own kind of harm, but when it enters the realm of like the cube crawls, the Cosby suite, that kind of stuff, you have to, if you are in the demographic that is in the power holding group, you have to try to speak up and say something, and it can be really uncomfortable and hard, and it could risk your career, and it's true. But like I say, as like a cis white dude, we have to be willing to put that stuff on the line to try to improve the conditions of people who hold less privilege. It just has to happen. There is no other solution, and it's scary. It might be scary for you, but you have to do it. There's no other way out of it, frankly, other than structural change, which I also advocate for, but that's harder to make happen with individual action. Not that individual action isn't important in there too, but on a behavioral level in your immediate workplace, you gotta risk it and understand that you'll probably be more. We've entered a place in like late stage capitalism where I have to be able to say, my odds of landing on my feet and surviving this without extreme trauma are a lot higher than the person being harassed. I mean, you look at people died over this stuff at Activision Blizzard, and you have to start looking at it that way, as like, yeah, it might mean that I don't have a job and my career's fucked, but that's better than someone being driven to like self-harm. And it sucks that we're being put in a position where we have to start making those judgments and weighing those things, but that's the way it's going to go. And I'll tell you right now, like, you should totally participate in the boycotts you want to participate in. I think it's a good idea to, like, when you see workers doing walkouts and stuff like that and staging strikes, it's great. You shouldn't cross the picket line, but don't tell yourself. I saw some stuff on Twitter that was like, who gives a fuck about Overwatch? Stop playing that shit. And it's like, what you're doing does not do it for you. If you're uncomfortable playing those games, good. Stop playing them. Take real action in your life. Like, come on.
But going like, I never liked it anyways. Like, it's the least helpful way of going about it.
Yeah, it's or like, I saw a couple tweets about like, I don't understand how any good person could play a Blizzard game at this point. And it's like, come on, like you're not helping the situation. That doesn't do anything to support the people who work there under those conditions.
And it's not,
especially
like,
since
the
so
people
many
making
people
the
there,
games were,
right,
and the people doing the walkouts were calling for people to boycott the games.
And I mean, I get it. I don't buy Nestle stuff because I really don't like Nestle. So I go out of my way not to buy their products. That's totally fine. But you got to understand, I do that because it makes me uncomfortable. I would love to see that company broken up, but like, I'm not going to come over and be like, you got fucking Coffee Mate in your fridge. What's wrong with you? You're a piece of shit. Like, come on.
Do that on principle because Coffee Mate is bad, not because Nestle is bad.
I think Coffee Mate's the Nestle one. Anyway, just take real action in your life and like actually call out the shitty behavior around you. That's, and then also maybe don't play their games if it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, avoid it if you can. Do your best. Like, I don't know. I think everybody just needs to try to do their best, and it's not always cut and dry what that might be, or, if, I don't know, it's just try your best to support people in your life who are going through this shit. Tell people, hey, this is bad. If you feel uncomfortable with what Blizzard's doing, avoid buying their games if you can. If you feel that way.
Yeah. Or
it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. In addition, if you are, like Pat was saying, in one of the more majority-y kind of groups where you can land on your feet and things of that nature, reach out to people who you know, who you work with, who you might not work with, but you're relatively close to, whatever. So ask people how they're doing. Check in on them, see if there's be a place they can talk if they need to, because people having to deal with that on their own is total bullshit.
And I guarantee you would be surprised at the number of people that have to deal with something on this spectrum somewhere, and who probably want to talk about it, but don't feel like they have someone they can talk to about it.
Sure.
Because I'll tell you, I have had conversations with in this relevant to this, like women in my life who have shared stuff that they clearly wanted to talk about, that I was like, Jesus, I couldn't have even. Now it doesn't unfortunately surprise me, but at the time I was like, holy shit, this just happens and it's okay. And it's pretty pervasive everywhere.
Yep.
And
how about the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, so that's the current situation on Activision Blizzard. We'll see what other developments as they come forward.
Huge, I'm sure that everybody said this last week, but huge content warning on this stuff if you go looking for information about it. Like it's the worst. It's really bad. So just keep that in mind as you're looking up.
Prefaced everything last week with that. So into some more lighthearted news. The PlayStation 5 has apparently sold 10 million units and is now the fastest selling PlayStation.
To who?
Someday 8 million people will end up with consoles that aren't just sitting on shelves. And
like I do wonder like how many are on like scalper warehouses.
Do we
or
have
whatever.
Sales numbers for like Miles Morales? Because I feel like that would tell you how many of those consoles are
digital. I think doesn't get like reported.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Not with the same stats.
Yeah, so I would love to know how many users actually logged on to a PS5.
Right. And how many of them are out in the wild?
And then even that is like a little wonky because people were doing that thing where they did the PlayStation catalog or the games, whatever. I don't even know what it's called anymore. The PlayStation Plus collection or whatever, and then
I think that's
getting people to sign into their account for them so they could have all those games. Yeah,
sold around 4 million for PS4.
Okay,
in its first month. Yeah, but that doesn't really tell us anything because those are PS4 numbers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
I imagine it sold less on PS5 just because
that just seems like a game that the vast majority of PS5 owners would have purchased.
Maybe.
So I bet that would tell you what the the number of actual PS5s.
But that number. But also like I think there's like a lot of fucking PS5s out there or PS4s. So I imagine that number accounting for digital would be much higher. And then all digital PS5s and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Like I'd want to see kind of a correlated thing looking at things like Returnal and Demon Souls and like the stuff that did not come to PS4 and seeing if we can extrapolate roughly how many people of these 10 million sales actually have a PS4 or
which
PS5
is
rather.
Tough, and this speaks to a problem the PS5 has, which is that I'm glad I have a PS5 because Returnal and Demon Souls are in my wheelhouse, but there's a lot of people that aren't interested in Returnal and Demon Souls based on like the talk around those games. They were a lot of
how about
they're niche games kind of.
How about Astro's Playroom then? Like if we could find player data on that would probably tell you everything.
Yeah, well that would just be
that would tell you for sure. Because it's the number of people that actually turned on their PS5 and played it.
It's the pack in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way to see how many trophies have been earned, not just like...
I'm looking that up right now.
Yeah, you keep doing that.
That's a good point.
Microsoft also mentioned that the Xbox Series X and S are their fastest selling consoles or units to date, but they didn't give a number. But generally speaking, it seemed like their stock was lower, even though they're like, they were just making less boxes, but like they've also been like on store shelves in some places, easy to pick up. Yeah. Pat, you've got quite the expression on your face.
I don't know where this is on psnprofiles.com, it says that 100,000 people got the in mint condition trophy, which is a 92.78% common trophy among Astros Playroom people. 100,000. So I don't know if that's just people who have reported it on this website, though.
But I don't think so. I think they're trawling through API stuff. I think, but I'm not sure.
It would depend. Like, if someone has like a private profile, that probably wouldn't show up.
Right.
And I don't know.
Yeah. I'm trying to find.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure I have a private profile, and I know that I have that trophy. So
yeah. But even if you like multiply that by 10, that's
maybe it is. I don't know. There's no like good way to like understand how the site works.
Fairly similar number, 89,000 people on TrueTrophies.com reporting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's probably just different.
Regardless, I would be surprised if half of those PlayStations are currently plugged into a TV.
That seems crazy, but also I mean, I don't know.
It's hard to square like what we were seeing with like people like scalpers having like hundreds of PlayStations in where if I were, well, also are these sell through numbers? I guess they would have to be because they're the fastest selling, so I assume, but I don't know.
But and also they're selling out. It's impossible to get, so they have to be sell through. But the I wouldn't, if I had to put money on it, I would certainly say I would bet at least 2 million of these units are not currently being used. Whether
but across countries and that, I could see that maybe.
But from Sony's perspective, they don't differentiate. They're like, hey, it's a sale.
There's no reason for them to care.
I mean,
there will be a reason for them to care eventually because they make more money on the software than they do on the hardware. So they will want those units sitting in. They want them all plugged into TVs eventually, but
it is
in
wild.
3 years they're going to care.
It is wild that with the chip shortage and like how hard it is to get these boxes that it's still like the fastest selling, that they were able to like keep up with demand that much and like make all this stuff, make that many in that time frame is impressive. And doesn't like is like hard to understand with like the chip shortage stuff and like it's weird. The Xbox One, that makes sense because like
there's 2 SKUs.
The original Xbox was not popular. Like some people liked it, but overall not very popular. The 360 was kind of like an unproven thing. But then but it was early, so like it sold a lot, I assume.
Just not as fast.
And then like once people were like, oh, the 360 is actually really good, then it started to like pick up. And then the Xbox One was a disaster. So with like Game Pass and stuff, like it totally makes sense that the X and S would be their fastest selling consoles to date for Microsoft.
Totally. Gaming industry is getting big, y'all.
Yep.
Yeah, it's no longer is it the mom and pop industry that we all remember.
It's more than just Pac-Man and Tetris. It's
what I think is interesting is like there's no fucking games. Like Ratchet was good and that came out this year, but like everything on PS5 aside from Ratchet and I guess Miles feels like it's kind of like Demon's Souls and Returnal, I think are great games. Still need to go back to Returnal at some point. My racing schedule totally derailed me on that game, but it's not for everybody. That's for sure. That game is fucking hard and it doesn't give a shit about your quality of life as a player. So like I couldn't blame someone for not wanting to play it. And so it's kind of wild to me because they delayed Horizon to next year as we all thought they would. There's just like there's not going to be anything for that box this holiday. Did
they officially announce that, or I thought that was still just rumored? But like people reporting on. I think Jeff Grubb. Hold on. I think Jeff Grubb on Grubb Stacks was saying it was delayed, but hold on. Okay, let me see. Horizon Forbidden West.
Pretty sure it was confirmed, but
I'm just seeing report. I'm not seeing. Let's see what Bloomberg says.
yeah, I would. But
yeah,
regardless,
according to a person familiar with the matter, like it sounds like it's probably likely. And you know, people don't just post things to post them, but like Sony hasn't come out to confirm it. It's just it's the scuttlebutt.
I don't think, but yeah,
but there's supposed to be a state of play in August, so I imagine that is when they'll say 2022 for that.
But I think the point remains, Pat. Like PS5 and Xbox Series, the series, I don't know. I still don't know how we identify them.
The sex.
The
sex box.
The S.
The sex box. My sex box.
Yep. Yeah. So with them bad boys,
sex box on. Sex box off.
Open your browser. Search sex box.
No.
Okay.
Don't do that. No.
Sex box. What?
I don't know what it comes up with.
It's a chat
Let's
show.
see.
2013, one season at 2.4 on IMDb.
Well, this is boring. Never mind. Forget I said anything. Don't search that. Wait, this show is fucking wild. What?
Man, this is boring. Oh my god, this is wild.
Okay.
Anyway, go for it. And then if you wanted to go for it, please, and then I'll continue.
No, I don't want to go for. I don't.
Okay.
Do your own research. I don't want to talk about that show.
God, I'm Googling it now.
I think there might be two shows, and one of them is the one I'm reacting to, and one of them is the 2013 talk show. But
yeah, so,
yeah, I'm looking at the 2013 talk show. Oh,
yeah. See.
huh?
Anyway,
so I think we've been talking about this for years, but I feel like the idea of a home console is slowly just getting so deprecated because Sony is releasing a lot of their games to PC, and there's news that came out this week of they partnered with some company whose name I didn't recognize, like Nintech or something, where they're going to be porting more and more of their exclusives to PC.
Nixies?
Game Pass. Yeah,
I think Nixies. Like they bought Nixies, I believe.
Oh, they bought them? Oh, okay. I thought it was a partnership.
I believe.
Yeah, something like that. But just everything is coming to the PC. Like the only real appeal of us, like a dedicated console, I think at this point, is the lower barrier to entry for price, because it is always going to be cheaper to buy a console rather than building a full gaming PC. But then again, who knows? Maybe the Steam Deck will kind of fill that niche.
So wait, they had an American version of Sexbox too.
Oh God. Wait, Sexbox 2? Is that like?
Yeah. More boxes. No, but they had an American version. They that was a British import to America apparently.
Oh, apparently there's also adultsexbox.com, custom curated subscription box for adults.
Oh.
That's not even what I was reacting to. There was like some Google result that the preview said like a show where people have sex in a box.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. That's the British show is apparently. Okay, so we're telling it to the audience. They don't have to Google it. Apparently the show is that they invite couples, they have them have sex in the sex box, and then afterwards they talk about their relationship.
Yeah, like it's not, you can't see in the box, thank God. But
it's like they've had, but they're like,
definitely on a stage.
They've definitely had sex on the box,
like the live sex celebration from WWE history.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
There weren't very many episodes of that in the UK, and then it suddenly they brought it over to the US apparently.
I don't fucking.
Which is canceled due to poor ratings. So
thank God. We don't need that. I mean, look, you want to watch people doing it, go on your own, go for it, you need to
go to twitch.tv/gamingfix.
I'm not saying I have any issues with, like if that's your thing, but a talk show about that's just weird to me. That's weird to me. Normalize people talking about sex, but also
okay. Apparently on a US show, there's the host do commentary on the sex.
Like play-by-play?
Do they have a feed? Are they watching it?
Yes, because during this time the show's during this time where they're having sex, the show's hosts will comment on sex, the couple, and the chances the couple's relationship will survive. Are they talking about
shitty?
Okay.
Whatever.
Wait, it's like, look at this. I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently there was a Washington Post review where it says like that they give them like a number grade for their sex. Instead of talking, I don't know, I'm like, what is happening with this show?
Oh,
okay.
The technique on that triple roundabout. No.
Who's the Simone Biles of Sexbox?
I don't.
Question from the chat: what would their grading scale be? It's a good question.
It's out of 9, and everyone scores a 6.
The couple. Wait, nice. They rate they rate each other after having the sex. Okay.
Well, that's all.
So it's like a survey. How would you say you were satisfied? Would you say you were extremely satisfied? I think that's
what it was.
I would
think the wife gives like the husband a rating of 7.9, and I'm like, what is that? What?
You should look.
Okay.
Look. Hey.
Oh no.
If you're in an adult relationship with a partner and that's a sexual relationship, talk about this stuff amongst yourselves before you go on a talk show.
Need a TV show to do it for you.
In a cube.
In a cube, yeah.
Hey, if you want,
can't talk about the sex you're having, your relationship is probably.
If you want help with it, that's fine. But like, go to a therapist.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
what therapy is for.
Yeah.
Like couples therapy. That's the thing. That's like
what if
very
you could
valid.
Have your 5 minutes fame and be on a TV show?
Go for it if you're into it, but talk about it before you go for it, so that you're not on stage revealing that you don't like your partner's, I don't know, boning style.
Apparently they said 7.9 is like, that's pretty good. That's not bad.
So are we saying that we should be watching this show and doing our own review of it?
Oh my god. You know what?
No, thank you. I could deal with I just want transcripts.
You can buy the American version on YouTube. So
good.
If you want to pay actual money, actual dollars to watch
this show, I'm sure you could find a way to watch this show if you want to. Do not pay money for this show.
Probably on Funimation with bad subtitles.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could buy season 1 in HD for $28.
Jesus Christ. So, Andre, how about the Annapurna thing?
Yeah.
No, first there's another PlayStation 5 bit of news. They finally detailed the storage stuff, which was, we knew it was going to be, okay, get an SSD. You can put the SSD in the PS5 that's coming out in the newest beta firmware, and then will be shortly released in the next official firmware update. Kind of the only weird thing is they say, hey, you need to put a heat sink on your storage expansion if it doesn't come with one already.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, but it's only weird if you're getting a drive that doesn't come with a heat sink already.
Yeah.
Some of the Samsung ones don't necessarily have one.
Things get fucking hot, man. They get really hot.
And I think Seagate was one of the ones announced. They were like, oh, we got our official PS5 made for the PS5 SSDs. And a 4 terabyte one is $1,000, which is par for the course on the prices. Right. But it is just a reminder of how expensive these new Gen 4 SSDs are.
Yep.
And like personally, I've had my PlayStation for like 6 months now or something, and no issues at all with like storage.
I
Like,
mean, that's because there's no fucking games for it, but yeah.
I delete games when I'm done with them.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
And honestly, for part of it is since I don't have a data cap now, like I deleted Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I hadn't played in months, but I was like, I can just reinstall this if I want to at some point. It's 100 gigs taking it up on the hard drive.
Yeah.
And you don't have a data cap anymore.
Right. So I don't mind shuffling games around. I think Sam made a good point that like if I was playing like Genshin Impact and Destiny and Final Fantasy on my PS5, I might be like, oh, there's not a lot of room here. Whereas I have Genshin and Final Fantasy installed right now, that leaves plenty of room for a couple of rotating games. If I were playing another couple of big service games, it may be a little less comfy.
Maybe, yeah.
But again, I don't know what you would be playing on it like that. Sports games, I guess. Like if you're really into both Madden and FIFA and also the show or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so you can look forward to that. Probably, wait for people to grab, hard drives and test them out and see before you go and necessarily buy one. But they're pretty clear with like speeds you should look for on your drives and stuff like that. And if you for some reason need more storage on your PS5, then go ahead and look into getting a new SSD.
Yeah,
just make sure it's the right kind, otherwise it won't play the games.
Yeah, but to be fair, the way Xbox did it is way better, where it's very like it's a stick you put into the back of it.
Yeah, it is very user friendly, and the PS5 version is I would say is more user friendly than it has been in the past with like the PS3 or the PS4, because this is just expanding the storage. You're not replacing the storage,
right?
But then having to add the heatsink is like a little weird if your drive doesn't come with a heatsink in the first place. But
yeah, and also if people are like scared of touching, like opening up their systems, because you have to basically pull the sides off of it, and you have a screwdriver and like install it. Like you could install it backwards and break this $1,000 4TB drive totally.
Sure.
So there's room for error.
Yeah, but again, that's like no different than like the PS3 or the PS4. So it's just kind of following in that, that footstep, that design philosophy, I guess. Yeah.
And also from the chat, since they are requiring the SSD to have a heatsink, I would be curious which models would have heatsinks that even fit into the PS5 case as well. Like if there is a minimum spec. That is an interesting point, I guess, because like some heatsinks are very tall.
Yeah, like I've seen some that are pretty beefy, but I don't know how big there's a cover that goes over like that drive space, and I'm not sure how like much room that gives.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know.
But I think there's like a Corsair like heatsink that's pretty tall. I think maybe, I don't know.
I don't remember.
But
so how about that Annapurna showcase?
I didn't see it.
It was good.
It happened when I was asleep.
There's a YouTube video.
And then it just never, it just didn't make its way into my schedule.
I need to go watch that because.
Am I the only one who saw it?
I think you're the only one to watch the whole thing. I just saw the trailers that came out of it that were cool.
Yeah. It was really
sounded like there was a lot of good games in there, which is not surprising for Annapurna.
Yeah, like it's worth watching the entire thing. They did a nice blend of gameplay and also interactions with the developers themselves. Kind of talking about the stories of the people who are making them. The developers out of Seattle. It was fun to watch them go skateboarding and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good skateboarding.
Yeah, but yeah, well, if none of y'all have watched it, I don't think we need to talk too much about it. But it's very good, and there's some real winners in there.
Finally announced the Outer Wilds DLC, which that trailer was very good.
It was
very spooky. I'm very, 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 very excited about it.
Yeah, it was.
And you've played a bit already too.
Well, I don't know that's. I have not. I don't
Okay.
think I can legally say if I have or I haven't played anything of any upcoming Outer Wilds content.
You've played the Outer Wilds.
I have played the game itself, yes, extensively.
Yeah.
They announced a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I'm trying to remember the name of the very first game they showed, which was really interesting. But I can't remember the name of it. I'll look at that on the side.
Was it Stray? The Artful Escape?
No. It might have been The Artful Escape, but Stray looked awesome. Did any of you watch just straight up Stray's trailer that they put out?
I saw the cat can drive a little cart.
Yep.
Okay, I love it. 10 out of 10 already.
It looks really good.
It was spoiled for me because all I saw was everybody being like, this is a pet peeve. I'm not actually trying to kill anybody's fun at all, but I basically saw like 10 tweets in a row almost stacked on my timeline that were like, you play as a cat, so best game ever. And that those kinds of tweets always make me go like, well, now I don't even, I'll just look at it when it comes out, because I'm just going to go in with like, oh, if it's got this in it, so that means it's going to be the best. But it sounds like the trailer was really good. Yeah,
it genuinely looked like a lot of fun to play. It kind of looks like the good parts of Uncharted, which is like kind of like the story-driven parts of Uncharted, where you're walking around and exploring and sometimes doing little puzzles. Like, it has aspects of that. It has like aspects of Half-Life 2 in kind of the world that you're in and the stuff you're interacting with. Like, there's not quite a Combine equivalent, but it's close enough.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't know. It just looks fun. It looks entertaining and it looks charming.
I'll go watch the trailer now. I'm much more sold on it after that. You also play a cat in Biomutant. That's the thing I want to remind everyone.
That's true.
Cats are great. Doesn't automatically mean that they're going to be the best character.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it was The Artful Escape that I was thinking of. That game looks delightful.
I did see some stuff about that.
Yeah,
it's cool.
The cast: Lena Headey, Jason Schwartzman, Mark Strong. I don't know who that is, and Carl Weathers.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it looks great. Watch the trailer for
that.
Plenty
of game on that bone.
Yeah, girl. But you should also watch the trailer. Pat, you in particular should watch the trailer for Skin Deep.
I have, I know that I saw something for that.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy
Blendo.
It's from Blendo. Yep, 30 Flights of Love and all them.
Yep. I love
Blendo.
I've seen a bunch of stuff about this game. Cool. I'm very excited for this game. It looks very cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's like a I think it's like procedural too, like kind of run based almost.
It is run based for sure. Whether or not the level's procedural, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're like it's an immersive sim basically, where you're like going around these spaceships, and it kind of looks like what I wanted that game from last year that a lot of people really liked, the roguelike, with the
Void Bastards.
Void Bastards, yeah. It kind of looks like what I was hoping Void Bastards was going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's
and
fair.
there's a mech. It also has cats in it, from what I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Allison, if you were going to watch one trailer, I would recommend A Memoir Blue to you. It's really cool style, where it starts with like this girl, like 3D, very nicely 3D animated, with character model and stuff like that, in a train. Just kind of like, it's kind of chill, and then she starts like looking into her memories, and her memories are like a hand-drawn art style. So nifty. It goes like, and then like you can kind of see like the background of like the train, like what's happening behind the windows, starting to fill in with like this really pretty like Forgotten Anne style, or not Ghibli, but like that gets thrown around, but very nice hand animated style in the background of this 3D game. And it's a striking style. It's super cool.
Oh, rad. I'll check that out.
All right. So Annapurna continuing to bring the bangers. Instead of bringing the bangers, sounds like Oculus Quest 2 is bringing the scratchers. the rashers.
Bring in the ointment.
Well, you got to bring the ointment to the Oculus because apparently they're stopping sales as they try to figure out why people are getting rashes and irritated skin from their Oculus.
Yep, around their eyes.
Well, not recommended. Don't. I don't even know what to say about this. That sucks.
Yeah.
It's funny because we were talking about VR solutions for racing in one of my Discords, and somebody was like, "What do you think is the best one to get?" And I was like, "Well, you can stomach having to have a Facebook account, which is totally fair if you can't. But the Quest has a really good wireless solution. It's really affordable, and so it's a good way to test out if you really even want to use VR with racing." And then literally, like this news article came out like 15 minutes later, and someone linked it, and I was like, "Or maybe just don't buy an Oculus product at all."
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Is a Google Cardboard a reasonable entry
No.
point if you want to try it for that kind of stuff?
Nah, you're not gonna get the fidelity you need. You're not gonna get the connection. There's no PC connection that's gonna work well enough. There's probably somebody out there who has made a Google Cardboard work with OpenVR enough to get it to go, but I don't think a phone is going to provide the kind of field of view you really want for
Totally.
more serious sim gaming anyway.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what would be the lowest barrier to entry, but if that's not viable, then
Yeah, I mean, it's still probably, I would say it's probably seeing if we can find a Quest 1 available
used,
or like
so
a
you can
Rift
get,
S.
so you can get all the rashes.
Yeah. It was the Rift S, but they're not going to make Rift S's anymore. So I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It is.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try and milk my friend for information when he actually starts his job there.
I also kind of might know somebody who is there, but I wonder. It seems like there is a lot of room for somebody to come in and make like the affordable sort of entry level headset that is like a solid PC option that offers all-in-one tracking instead of having to use base stations.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Maybe someone will hack the PlayStation VR 2.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Were I Sony, and I'm not, and they're not me, and they won't do this, but were I Sony, I would say, look, PSVR works best on PlayStation 5, but hey, you want to plug it into your PC? We're not going to stop you. And here's a driver for VR that'll work.
Like, people got PlayStation VR working on PC, but the problem is you need like iToy cameras.
So that's the thing, is I think that
like PlayStation 3 iToy cameras.
I will be very surprised if the PSVR requires a camera. I bet it'll be all in one.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's
if it's not, then what are they doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So PlayStation VR 2, I would be surprised if you couldn't use it on. And then also there's like controllers, like the app, that stuff is
right. So
too.
that's difficult,
but actually it might actually be okay because I think the camera was part of the reason or something. I don't know.
Yeah. And what's great about stuff like sim racing is you don't like, it's actually kind of a hindrance that you have to have the controllers around. Because ideally you're just using your wheel, like you're not actually using the controllers for anything. And you have a mouse like handy to kind of do some mouse stuff.
This is unrelated to anything we were talking about at all. I just learned that John St. John voices Big the Cat. I didn't know that. I knew that idea.
Actually. Yeah.
That's so weird. Again, completely
I don't know what
unrelated.
to do with this information.
Just picture Big the Cat saying, "Blow it out your ass."
Is that, and he hands Sonic a chili dog.
I've got balls. I put that straight.
So you're saying Big the Cat has not been...
He's not neutered.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Of course he's not. Are you kidding me?
You're saying Big the Cat fucks.
Yes. Well, how is this a question?
Big the Cat procreates.
Okay, we're done now.
Oh, this is your line. We talked about the
yes.
Xbox show.
Listen, those are real adult people, not a
Not Big the
Sonic cat.
Not real
Not Big
adult
the Cat.
cats. Big the cat is real. He is my friend and he has sex.
God, okay, that makes it sound a lot worse than before.
Now,
Anyway.
now with consenting, I don't know, consenting partners. Adults, yes. I'm not going to say it's people because
Look,
it's a cat.
yeah, but Big's a cat. Never mind. We can't do this.
Okay, bye.
You can find Allison at Writers.
That is going to do
Allison
it.
wants to associate her social handles with this shit show at this point.
That is going to do it for episode 183 of the Gaming Fix podcast on July 31st, 2021. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liner. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W, where I'll probably also post about any streams I'm doing. I got some ideas for stuff I'm going to start doing, or maybe I'll put some stuff up on YouTube. I don't know. We'll see. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Fix Podcasts. Did I get it right? Did I do it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
9 out of 10.
Good.
You're rated
6
we
out of
rate you a
9.
9.3 out of 10. Yep.
That's my favorite Star Trek character, 6 of 9.
That's when I tried Star Trek Online. That's what I called my board character.
Good.
There was also someone playing as 4 of 20. So
Nice. Pat.
I mean,
Where can people find you?
PJC Plays on Twitter and parked in front of the real life 24 Hours of Spa, which you can just watch on YouTube. I forgot about that. It's cool.
Nice.
Just go watch it.
Allison.
Find me on Twitter.
Are you okay?
Find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. No Big the Cat on my Twitter.
Do not
Never.
Big the
send.
cat. Do
Never.
not interact. That's in your bio.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you are Big the Cat, do not.
You can send. I like Big the Cat. You can send me Big the Cat. I do not want any not safe for work Big the Cat content.
Only
man.
safe for work. Big the
give
cat.
me a second.
Yes.
Not safe for work. Big
No,
the
it
Cat.
exists, and I don't
wanna
no,
do this.
bad idea.
Okay.
What
good.
is
We have to-
rule? What's rule 63?
we have to- I don't want to know. We have to clap for Allison's audio. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, we gotta clap.
Wait,
Bye.
Alex, where can we find you?
You don't want to
Looking at
know.
Big the Cat rule 34 apparently.
No, rule 63. I don't know what that is.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Well,
I'm gonna have to go down a
we'll
big
find out.
hole here.
Okay, well,
That's yourself.
stay wet, gamers.
Oh, for every given male character, there's
Oh,
a female
God.
version of the
Good.
character, and vice versa.
No, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
That one's
yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Lady Big the Cat.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Bye.
Stay wet, Big the cat.
Okay, I'm going to
Oh.
time.is.